Good evening, Chairman. Should I start?
Yes. Let us start.
Okay. A very good evening, esteemed faculty. For today, Mehul Thakker ji, Chairman Ahmedabad branch, CA Harit Dhariwal, Treasurer and Chairperson of
Umesh bhai,
this Chairman
અહીંયા
of
Wi-Fi
the
ખબર છે તમને?
committee. I request members to mute themselves. Chairman of Direct Tax Committee, Sunil Sanghvi, senior members and my dear friends. Let's begin the session with ICI motto. Request Shehzad Bhai to play ICI motto.
येष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति येष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः अस्मिन् शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यधिकश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता
Thank you, Shehzad Bhai. I request Chairman of Ahmedabad branch, CA Harit Dhariwal, to give opening remarks.
Thank you, Anjali Ben. So, esteemed faculty for the session, CA Mehul Thakker, the Chairman of the Direct Tax Committee, Director International Tax Committee, CA Sunil Sanghvi ji, the Secretary of the branch, CA Anjali Choksi, and all the dear members. A very good evening to everyone. So I welcome you all to this very important session on the two important topics. One is obviously the Finance Act is now passed. So the major amendments in the Finance Bill, which was now a Finance Act, and also important amendment in the Companies Act. Both the topics are very relevant, and thank you all for joining for today's session. Just two announcements. One is regarding tomorrow's topic of the Schedule 3 amendments. I think very important that this year, when we'll be finalizing the balance sheets, this year Schedule 3, under which the structure of the financial statements have undergone a huge change. So tomorrow we are having a session on the company's accounts and auditor rules amendment and Schedule 3 amendments, which will be taken by Chintan Patel and Padma Shri Krasa from Mumbai. She'll be joining us virtually. And again, analysis of the new rules on trust. So again, a very important topic, which will be taken by C. Ajit Shah sir and Atul Shah sir at Ahmedabad branch. So both the topics are very important. So do register for tomorrow's event as well. Not taking much of the time, I cannot stop myself but from announcing about the Movement 73, which we all are very passionate about. I think this is something. See, technical sessions will be going on. We'll be doing. We have a lot of technical sessions planned up for GST, income tax, for insolvency. But at the same time, we also will have to understand the importance of health, because with COVID around, we have to be very careful now. And hence, Ahmedabad branch, along with a lot of branches of Gujarat, we are coming up with a Movement 73, basically, which is a health initiative. It's a 73-day initiative taken by the Ahmedabad branch, wherein we'll be having a proper guidance on how to take care of your health. We'll be having sessions on Zumba, on yoga, on aerobics, live virtual sessions. We'll be having interesting sessions like dance with Bhangra. We'll be having the nutrition guidance. We'll be having a body composition check for every member. So a lot of things which you have planned for the 73 day. We'll be having a surprise, what you call weekly challenges like no sugar week and all the stuff. So a lot of things to be told of. I know this is not the platform, but I cannot stop myself, because this is something which we all managing committee members and all the members who are involved are very passionate about. So please do participate in this Movement 73, and I'm sure after these 73 days, which also includes talk from doctors, by nutritionists, by experts in the field. So we all will be, having a lifestyle change in our lifestyle. We'll be having, we all will be witnessing that change. So with this, I think once again, I urge you to register for this movement. And I would like to thank Mehul sir for taking up this session again. Sir, you have always been our first choice for any amendment that is coming in direct taxes. We always look up to you for the changes, sir. And thank you for always being there and raising your hand and being there for us. Thank you so much, sir. And I would now tell Sunil Bhai to take the session forward.
Thank you, Harit Bhai. Welcome
Chairman C. Harit Dhariwal, Treasurer Anjali Choksi, today's faculty Mehul Thakker, seniors and friends. So today's two topic, income tax and company law, both are relevant. Income tax, after the Finance Bill 21, certain changes have been proposed in the Lok Sabha. And then after the Finance Bill has been passed, now it has become the Finance Act 21. So those changes with examples, Mehul has very smartly he has prepared and going to deliberate to us. Another faculty for today, CS Vinit Nagar, for the changes in the company law affecting to us as an auditor, what changes in the accounts and the balance sheets are relevant. Those changes Vinit Nagar is going to discuss. As such, the introduction of Mehul Thakker is not required, but let me introduce that is, we know that he is a fellow member and he has an experience of more than 23 years. He is expert in the field of direct taxes and handling the assessment, reassessment, search cases, appellate at the both the levels, the first appeal and the second appeal, that is a tribunal. Also in the consultancy and advisory to the corporates. He has authored a comprehensive book also on the direct tax law and the international law. He has been keynote speaker at the various platforms, maybe the branches of our institute or the ICSI study circles, All Gujarat Federation of the Tax Consultant, IT Bar Associations, CA Associations, Tax Advocate Association, and many others. With this brief introduction, we all welcome you on behalf of Ahmedabad branch. We welcome you, Mehul bhai, and we are thankful for giving the time. And I would request now to start the session.
Thank you, Sunil bhai. First of all, I am thankful to the branch chairman, Harit Dhariwal, that in this COVID pandemic, again, second round, he had planned and he has already shared, though he said that I am coming out with a surprise, but some surprise he already opened up, that he is taking care of our health and he is inviting the health professionals to guide us to keep ourselves fit for the community at large. I am thankful to Anjali madam to assume a wonderful post in our branch. I am thankful to my friend Sunil bhai, who is always a friend since many years, and giving a wonderful introduction. And I am thankful to all of you to make it exact 100 number for the wonderful seminar. I was waiting that let it be 100. We see, we are always excited about 100 because we are fond of matches, more particularly cricket match. I am thankful to the participant making a wonderful participation in today's seminar. Let me straight away go to the topic for which I have been invited. The interesting part of today's topic is that normally I used to comment because Harit already studied under me and Sunil bhai and myself worked together. And I do not love, honestly speaking, I do not love to read the amendments or read the budget unless it is receiving the assent from the president. So unless it becomes act, I normally never read. But since last 3 years, I started giving speech on budget immediately after budget. Like this year also, I was very next day in the morning, I was at Bhopal branch of ICI for giving the complete commentary on budget. Why? The reason, one of the reason I always hesitate myself not to read budget immediately, because when really it becomes an act, there may be lots of changes. There may be a debate in the parliament. There is a possibility that there will be lots of changes and we unnecessarily have to keep a track of these kind of changes before they become the act. But the interesting thing happened this time that finance bill was presented on 1st February and before it became act, during the discussion before Lok Sabha, 127 amendments were carried out. I repeat, 127 amendments were carried out before the finance bill become act. So this is, we know that wonderful movie, we were aware, Satte Pe Satta. This is called amendment pe amendment. I'm surprised that you are amending the provision before it came. That means when you are drafting, you are not much careful. This is the limitation, whatever the limitation on the part of team at the Ministry of Finance. But now they corrected many of the errors. They even came out with new ideas also for raising the revenue. So with this opening, let me share the presentation which I have prepared for today's seminar. Just kindly confirm me you are able to see Sunil Bhai's the presentation. I think presentation is visible now.
મેહુલ ભાઈ દેખાય છે પ્રેઝન્ટેશન ને બધું પ્રોપર છે, વિઝિબલ છે.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Perfect.
Now I'll take complete charge of this today's discussion. Pay attention now. I request the members to pay attention to the screen because changes are very minute. And what I have planned is I will discuss those changes which are more relevant in majority of our practice, because there are certain changes more particularly with regard to taxation of non-resident and certain areas of like business trust where we are not commonly practicing. I am aware of all the amendment because I am writing publications since last 6 years on the entire subject. But I will focus myself on majority of the amendment which are relevant for all of us attending the seminar. I'll highlight the other part, I'll highlight the other amendments also, but I'll not go in depth. So as I have discussed that finance bill, Lok Sabha has passed the finance bill on March 23, 2021, and that got assent from the president on 20th March 21. And the original bill which was presented on the first day of February, it has not been passed in its original shape. Total 127 changes have been made. So what the budget we had discussed at branch level, I think we had got Girish Ahuja sir, who had delivered and deliberated the various issues on budget. After that, there are 127 changes, small and big changes that they have pointed out before they become act. So let us look at the very first important part. This is relevant for everybody. It is, they have decided to go for taxing partnership firm. When partnership firm transfer money or property to its partner, or if it is an AOP or BOI, then when AOP BOI transfer money or property to its members, then now they have decided to introduce new section, that is section 9B, which was not originally proposed in Finance Bill 2021, but 9B is now the part of the Finance Act 2021. Then 45.4 was modified, but they again modified before it became act. And they also introduced section 48, some clause number 3 was introduced. So Roman 3, 48.3 that they have introduced. So I have kept right now the bare text here. Section 9B you look at. Then I have kept the bare text of section 45.4. Then I have kept the bare text of section 48. And then I have prepared a wonderful presentation or a summary that what it would like to convey. I am reading slightly the bare text of section 9B. The 9B is a very accidental outcome in this Finance Act 2021. I am primarily reading it and then I'll make it very comfortable, easily understandable for entire members who are attending this. And I'll also come out with wonderful examples also. Let us look at subsection 1. Subsection 1 says, where a specified person receives during the previous year any capital asset or stock in trade, or both, from a specified entity, and he receives this at a time of dissolution or a reconstitution of such specified entity, then it says specified entity shall be deemed to have transferred this kind of capital asset and stock in trade to the specified person in the year in which such capital asset or stock in trade or both which are received by the specified person. Now you will be quite frustrated by reading this word, sir, specified person, specified entity, iska meaning kya hai? So let me guide you the meaning of specified entity and specified person. So pay attention. The meaning is given as under specified entity. Whenever I use the word, it means a firm or AOP or BOI. यानी जब भी मैं एंटिटी बोलता हूं तो उसका मीनिंग रहेगा इट विल बी आइदर ए पार्टनरशिप फर्म और एन एओपी और ए बीओआई, बट दे हैव क्लियरली सेड it does not include company or cooperative society, thank god. Yani specified entity means a firm or AOP or BOI, and whenever I use the word specified person means for a firm the person would be a partner of the firm, and for AOP BOI person would be a member of that AOP or BOI, and they have again clarified that not being a company or cooperative society. In short, 9B1 क्या कहता है, ध्यान से हम पढ़ते हैं. I have prepared a small presentation on that. 9B1 says where a specified person yani partner, when he receives something during the previous year, what he receives, दो वर्ड बताए हैं, एक है कैपिटल एसेट और दूसरा है स्टॉक इन ट्रेड. तो he receives capital asset or stock in trade, or he may receive both, and he will receive from whom? He will receive from a specified entity. और स्पेसिफाइड एंटिटी मैंने आपको बताया, यहां हम लेंगे पार्टनरशिप फर्म. एग्जांपल हम ले रहे हैं पार्टनर और फर्म का. तो इफ पार्टनर रिसीव्स कैपिटल एसेट और स्टॉक इन ट्रेड और बोथ फ्रॉम ए पार्टनरशिप फर्म, when he receives, the very important word they used is in connection with dissolution of the firm or reconstitution of the firm. If that is the case, then firm shall be deemed to have transferred that capital asset or stock in trade or both in that year. In short, section 9b creates a deeming fiction. What section 9b says, अगर पार्टनरशिप फर्म का रिकॉन्स्टिट्यूशन हुआ या डिसोल्यूशन हुआ और उस टाइम पे पार्टनर को कैपिटल एसेट या स्टॉक इन ट्रेड या दोनों दिए गए हैं, if that would be the situation, then it is a case of deemed transfer in the hands of partnership firm. That means they are trying to attract taxability in the hands of partnership firm. I repeat, they have used the two words dissolution or reconstitution. ये दोनों सिचुएशन में पार्टनरशिप फर्म के हाथ में ट्रांसफर माना जाएगा और उसके हाथ में कुछ इनकम टैक्सेबल होने वाली है. We will read in section 9b2. But before I read that, let us understand meaning of reconstitution of firm. So far as dissolution of firm is concerned, we understand what is called dissolution, and it does not require as such any definition. But so far as reconstitution is concerned, they have defined the reconstitution under the Act. Kindly pay attention on the screen. The meaning of reconstitution is given as under. Reconstitution says there are three clauses they have given, A, B, and C. A says one or more partner or member of specified entity ceases to be the partner or member. So here idea is one or more partner will cease to be the member. Now this will envisage two situations. One is retirement. So one or more partner may retire from the firm, then he ceases to be a partner. And second situation envisaged by clause number A is there will be a death of the partner. Because of death, he ceases to be the member. In short, clause number A takes care of retirement and death. Clause number B क्या कहता है? ध्यान से पढ़े reconstitution में. One or more new partner is being admitted. But condition क्या है? That at least one partner continue to remain before change. He will continue to remain after change. यानी पुराना एटलीस्ट एक पार्टनर कॉमन होना चाहिए और एडमिशन हो रहा है. इन शॉर्ट द आइडिया इज देयर इज एन एडमिशन ऑफ द पार्टनर्स, एंड आफ्टर एडमिशन यू हैव टू एंश्योर दैट एटलीस्ट वन पार्टनर बिफोर एडमिशन विल कंटिन्यू टू बी अ पार्टनर आफ्टर एडमिशन. दैट वुड बी कंसिडर्ड एज रिकॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ द स्पेसिफाइड एंटिटी. एंड थर्ड इज ऑल पार्टनर्स और मेंबर्स of specified entity continue to be the member, but they are just changing their profit sharing ratios. Either they are changing among all of them or some of them. तो अगर आप ये तीन पॉइंट जो देख रहे हैं, that you will find under section 187 of the Income Tax Act. तो section 9B will be applicable in two situations. I request slightly, this would be a little bit lengthier, but I request members to pay attention. It is very, very important for all of us in practice. Whenever dissolution takes place, or now whenever there will be a reconstitution takes place. That means either there will be admission or a retirement or a death, or there will be a change in profit sharing ratio among all the partners or some of them. अगर ये तीन सिचुएशन या डिसोल्यूशन हुआ तो सेक्शन 9 भी ये कहती है कि कि अगर आपने उनको एसेट, कैपिटल एसेट या स्टॉक इन ट्रेड दिया है, then section 9B1 will be applicable. And 9B1 says firm shall be deemed to have transferred such capital asset or stock in trade or both. So what is the interpretation coming here? Pay attention. The interpretation coming here is, if firm is not transferring capital asset to partner, maybe retiring partner or maybe deceased partner, or because of change in profit sharing ratio, if firm is not transferring the asset, capital asset, or firm is not transferring the stock in trade, meaning thereby firm is just giving cash or bank payment, then in that case, section 9B is not applicable. I repeat, 9B is applicable only in that situation when firm gives capital asset to the retiring partner or deceased partner, or firm gives stock in trade. If firm gives cash or cash equivalent like bank payment, then in that case, section 9B would not be applicable. That one has to be clear on that part. Now let us go further. Once it is a deemed transfer, then how gain should be measured? So what section says? 9B2. Let me read. Pay attention on the screen. I can come out with orally because I have prepared the presentation since morning. I am after these only. But let us read that what it says. 9B2 says, any profits and gains arising from such a deemed transfer shall be deemed to be the income of the firm. यानी टैक्स लगने वाला है फर्म के हाथ में for the previous year in which such stock or capital asset has been received by the partner, and they have clarified it will be chargeable under the head business or capital gain as the case may be. तो सेक्शन 9B2 simply says कि अगर फर्म कैपिटल एसेट दे रही है रिटायरमेंट, लेट अस टेक द एग्जांपल कि मान लो कोई पार्टनर का रिटायरमेंट हो रहा है, तो रिटायरमेंट विल फॉल इन द रिकंस्टिट्यूशन एंड दैट्स व्हाई सेक्शन 9B इज अट्रैक्टेड. तो अगर रिटायरमेंट हो रहा है और फर्म रिटायरमेंट के टाइम पे पार्टनर को कैपिटल एसेट दे रही है, ठीक है, तो कैपिटल एसेट भी दे रही है और स्टॉक इन ट्रेड भी दे रही है, तो सेक्शन 9B2 क्या कहती है, जो कैपिटल एसेट दे रही है पार्टनर को उसके ऊपर कैपिटल गेन फर्म को चुकाना होगा, कैपिटल गेन पे टैक्स चुकाना होगा, और जो स्टॉक इन ट्रेड दे रही है पार्टनर को उसके ऊपर बिजनेस गेन कैलकुलेट करके फर्म को टैक्स देना होगा. तो 9B2 इज वेरी सिंपल. व्हेन फर्म गिव्स कैपिटल एसेट टू ए रिटायरिंग पार्टनर फॉर एग्जांपल और स्टॉक इन ट्रेड और बोथ, then firm is liable for capital gain or business gain or both. So that is number 2. Now a question may arise, how do I measure this capital gain? What is the sale consideration in the hands of firm so far as capital asset is concerned and the stock in trade is concerned? तो आइए देखते हैं सेक्शन क्या कहता है. सेक्शन ये कहता है 9B3. 9B3 ये कहता है हमें फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू लेनी है. फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू ऑफ कैपिटल एसेट और स्टॉक इन ट्रेड on the date of receipt by the partner is deemed to be the full value of consideration. तो फर्म के हाथ में सेल कंसिडरेशन हमें क्या लेना है, कैपिटल एसेट की फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू और स्टॉक इन ट्रेड की फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू. बेस्ड ऑन दैट वी हैव टू वर्क आउट द कैपिटल गेन. नाउ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंगली there is one more section, subsection 4 and 5, which says that CBT will come out with some guidelines for removing difficulty arising in giving effect to the provision of this section. And whatever guidelines CBT will come out, that will be laid before the each house of parliament, and thereafter it will be binding to the tax authorities as well as the SSC. So 9B on a plain reading is very simple. So 9B, let me summarize again. I will take few minutes more for this section because it is very, very relevant for all of us who are attending seminar and all of us practicing in India. Two situations 9B will be invoked. Number 1, either there will be a dissolution, or number 2, there will be a reconstitution. Second, in dissolution or reconstitution, what firm is doing? Firm is handing over capital asset or stock in trade. Third condition, if firm is handing over capital asset or stock in trade to the partner, then in the year in which such handing over is done, that year it will be treated as a deemed transfer. So 9B1 says a deemed transfer. And now it will result into 2 deemed gain. First deemed gain arising as a result of transfer of capital asset, that would be taxable under the head capital gain. And second deemed gain arising because of transfer of stock to the partner under the head business gain. और 9B3 क्या कहता है, ये गेन मेजर करने के लिए हमें फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू लेना है। आई रिपीट, कैपिटल एसेट की और स्टॉक इन ट्रेड की हमें कौन सी वैल्यू लेनी है? फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू। आई थिंक इट्स वेरी सिंपल प्रोविजन, नथिंग कॉम्प्लिकेटेड। अगर हम देखें तो पुराना 45(4) भी ऐसा ही लिखता था, लेकिन 45(4) सिर्फ किसके लिए था? डिसोल्यूशन और अदरवाइज वर्ड था। अब पुराना 45(4) याद करें, डिसोल्यूशन और अदरवाइज, और अदरवाइज को लेकर बॉम्बे हाईकोर्ट का इंटरप्रिटेशन है अदरवाइज इंक्लूड्स रिटायरमेंट। ऐसा बॉम्बे हाईकोर्ट का जजमेंट है, बहुत पुराना। तो नाउ सेम प्रोविजन हैज बीन रिटन हियर अंडर सेक्शन 9B। और वहां भी क्या लिखा था उन्होंने 45(4) में, पुराने 45(4) में, कि वहां भी आपको फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू लेनी है एसेट की, नहीं कि आपकी एग्रीड वैल्यू लेनी है। तो आई थिंक प्रोविजन इज मोर और लेस सेम एक्सेप्ट वन डिफरेंस एज कंपेयर टू ओल्ड 45(4). और वो जो डिफरेंस है, वो डिफरेंस है यहाँ स्टॉक इन ट्रेड उन्होंने ऐड किया है, और उन्होंने लिखा है कि स्टॉक इन ट्रेड में से जो गेन होगा दैट वुड बी चार्जेबल अंडर द हेड बिजनेस गेन। तो आई थिंक 9B इज वेरी क्लियर, नथिंग डिफिकल्ट टू अंडरस्टैंड सो फार एज सेक्शन 9B इज कंसर्न। अब जो मैं आगे बोलने वाला हूं, that will create a big shock in everybody's mind. Even I was also, since morning I was looking at the law repeatedly, and I was also confused that what they would like to convey here, but I am very clear what they have conveyed, and I'll share what I got the clarity. Look at now section 45(4). अब उन्होंने 45(4) अगर आप ध्यान दे तो जो बजट प्रेजेंट हुआ था उसमें भी उन्होंने 45(4) को सब्स्टिट्यूट किया था। And to be very honest, it was very, very confusing, very confusing. And with due respect of every speaker across India, they have just given an overview. Nobody tried to go in depth because it was so confusing. Now, thank God, they have substituted that section also. यानी जो उन्होंने बजट में प्रपोज किया था उसको पूरा सब्स्टिट्यूट कर दिया, और सब्स्टिट्यूट करके उन्होंने सबसे बड़ा कॉम्प्लिकेशन यहां उन्होंने क्रिएट किया है 45(4) लिख के। तो आई एम रीडिंग 45(4) फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल what it says. It says, वहां भी सेम लैंग्वेज है, where a specified person, यानी हम यहां एग्जांपल के जरिए लेंगे पार्टनर, he receives during previous year any capital asset or money or both from a specified entity, for example partnership firm. In short, partner receives during previous year any capital asset or money or both. When he receives, ध्यान से पढ़ें, in connection with the reconstitution, then profits and gain arising from such receipt of money and capital asset by partner, there is some typing error on my part, shall be deemed to be the income of the firm under the head capital gain for the previous year in which such capital asset or money or both were received by the partner. Now let me explain what it says. What it says, 45(4) कब एप्लीकेबल होगी, पहले इसको हमें समझना है। 45(4) would be applicable only in the situation of reconstitution, यानी 45(4) डिसोल्यूशन के टाइम पे लागू नहीं होगी। नंबर 1, it will be applicable only in the case of reconstitution. Number 2, 45(4) says that during reconstitution firm handover, उन्होंने दो वर्ड बताए, वन इज कैपिटल एसेट और मनी। याद ध्यान दे, यहां उन्होंने स्टॉक इन ट्रेड वर्ड नहीं लिखा है, लॉजिकल है, क्योंकि 45(4) इज अ पार्ट ऑफ चैप्टर कैपिटल गेन, तो स्टॉक इन ट्रेड हैज नो रिलेवेंस सो फार एज चैप्टर कैपिटल गेन इज कंसर्न। तो उन्होंने क्या लिखा है यहां, दैट यू आर ए पार्टनरशिप फर्म एंड पार्टनर रिसीव्स कैपिटल एसेट और मनी, ठीक है, और बोथ। तो आई रिपीट, 45(4) is applicable only in the situation of reconstitution, not applicable for dissolution. Number 2, under reconstitution, firm is handing over capital asset or money or both. If that would be the situation, then I request you to keep your ears open. I am not committing any error in coming out with this next sentence. Then firm will be taxable. I repeat, who will be taxable? Firm will be taxable. अभी हमने थोड़ी मिनट पहले सेक्शन 9B में पढ़ा, वहां भी रिकंस्टिट्यूशन था, वहां भी कैपिटल एसेट थी, वहां भी हमने क्या पढ़ा था, फर्म वुड बी टैक्सेबल। और यहां भी वो लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं, रिकंस्टिट्यूशन में अगेन फर्म विल बी टैक्सेबल। एंड सरप्राइजिंगली उन्होंने एक्सप्लेनेशन जोड़ा है। लेट मी शेयर व्हाट द एक्सप्लेनेशन दे हैव गिवन। आई एम रीडिंग दैट एक्सप्लेनेशन। ध्यान से देखें स्क्रीन पे, एक्सप्लेनेशन 2 to section 45(4) says when capital asset is received by a partner from the firm in connection with reconstitution, provision of said section shall operate, यानी 45(4) will operate in addition to 9B, यानी फर्म को एक ही कैपिटल एसेट को लेकर डबल टैक्सेशन है. आई रिपीट, टैक्सेशन अंडर बोथ प्रोविजन विल बी वर्कड आउट इंडिपेंडेंटली. अब आप हैरान हो जाएंगे. So let me summarize again one line sentence. If there is a reconstitution, then there will be a double taxation under both the section. First section is section 9B and second section is 45(4). There will be a double taxation. अभी इतना आप समझ लीजिए. तो 45(4) will be applicable in the event of reconstitution, and where what is given, capital और मनी और बोथ इज गिवन. अब सवाल ये उठता है कि 45(4) में कैपिटल गेन कैसे कंप्यूट किया जाए. तो उन्होंने एक फॉर्मूला देके रखी है. तो लेट मी शेयर दैट फॉर्मूला. लुक एट द स्क्रीन. आई एम शेयरिंग द फॉर्मूला गिवन अंडर द एक्ट, एंड फॉर्मूला इज गिवन A is equal to, they have said capital gain will be computed in accordance with following formula. A is equal to B plus C minus D, where A is nothing but a capital gain चार्जेबल इन द हैंड्स ऑफ फर्म. तो फर्म के हाथ में कैपिटल गेन चार्जेबल होगा कितना? B प्लस C माइनस D. B क्या है? मनी रिसीव्ड बाय द पार्टनर. C क्या है? फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू ऑफ एसेट रिसीव्ड बाय द पार्टनर ऑन द डेट ऑफ रिसिप्ट. तो B प्लस C यानी पार्टनर को जो पैसे मिले वो, और जो उसको एसेट मिली उसकी फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू, B प्लस C. और D माइनस करना है. D क्या है? पार्टनर का जो कैपिटल अकाउंट में बैलेंस दिख रहा है, बैलेंस इन द कैपिटल अकाउंट ऑफ द पार्टनर इन द बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स ऑफ द फर्म एट अ टाइम ऑफ रिकंस्टिट्यूशन. और उन्होंने आगे क्लैरिफाई कर दिया है कि जब भी आप ये बैलेंस कैलकुलेट करेंगे पार्टनर का कैपिटल का, उसमें हमें रीवैल्यूएशन को ध्यान में नहीं लेना है, हमें सेल्फ जनरेटेड गुडविल को ध्यान में नहीं लेना है, अदर सेल्फ जनरेटेड एसेट को ध्यान में नहीं लेना है. यानी अगर हमने गुडविल रेस करके अकाउंटिंग एडजस्टमेंट किया है कैपिटल अकाउंट में, तो उसको हमें ध्यान में नहीं लेना है. तो लेट मी शेयर हाउ 45(4) विल कम इनटू पिक्चर, हाउ द कैपिटल गेन वुड बी कैलकुलेटेड. तो वो क्या कहता है? A इज इक्वल टू, यानी कैपिटल गेन इन द हैंड्स ऑफ फर्म इज इक्वल टू B प्लस C माइनस D. B यानी पार्टनर को जो पैसे दिए गए वो, C यानी जो एसेट दी गई है उसकी फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू, और D यानी उसका जो कैपिटल अकाउंट का बैलेंस दिख रहा है वो माइनस करना है. लेकिन वो कैपिटल अकाउंट का बैलेंस कैसे लेना है? बिफोर रिवैल्यूएशन, बिफोर गिविंग इफेक्ट ऑफ एनी गुडविल एडजस्टमेंट, नॉर्मली हम करते हैं, और बिफोर गिविंग इफेक्ट ऑफ सेल्फ जनरेटेड एसेट. कुछ सवाल आ रहे हैं, उस सवाल को हम बाद में लेंगे एट द एंड ऑफ द सेशन. आई विल डेफिनेटली टेक केयर ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन. तो नाउ लेट अस अंडरस्टैंड what it would like to convey. A is equal to B plus C minus D. एक एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं. आप ध्यान से वर्डिंग सुनिए, क्योंकि एग्जाम्पल मैं लिख नहीं पाया because I met with an accident and I had a fracture in left hand, so I couldn't type, and my assistant was helping somewhat out of Gujarat, and we were not able to compile fully. But let me give you a small example. Let us take it an example of retirement of partner. ठीक है? और रिटायरमेंट ऑफ पार्टनर में फर्म पार्टनर को दो चीज दे रही है, एक कैपिटल एसेट दे रही है और एक मनी दे रही है. ठीक है? अब जो कैपिटल एसेट फर्म दे रही है उसकी, मान लो वो डेप्रिशिएबल एसेट है, ऐसा मान लेते हैं वो डेप्रिशिएबल एसेट है, और उसकी WDV सेक्शन 50 के अंतर्गत 1 करोड़ रुपए है. ठीक है? आई रिपीट, देयर इज ए पार्टनरशिप फर्म, रिटायरमेंट ऑफ ए पार्टनर, और रिटायरिंग पार्टनर को एक ऑफिस दे रही है जिसकी WDV जो ऑफिस दे रही है वो 1 करोड़ रुपए है. ठीक है? अब उसकी मार्केट वैल्यू मान ले 3 करोड़ रुपए है. नंबर 1, WDV 1 करोड़ है, मार्केट वैल्यू 3 करोड़ है. तो 1 करोड़ से 3 करोड़ का डिफरेंस, दैट वुड बी अ शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन ऑफ ₹2 करोड़, दैट वुड बी चार्जेबल अंडर सेक्शन 9B इन द हैंड्स ऑफ फर्म. तो पार्टनर को 1 करोड़ वाली एसेट दे रहे हैं जिसकी मार्केट वैल्यू 3 करोड़ है, तो 2 करोड़ जो शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन आएगा सेक्शन 50 में, दैट वुड बी चार्जेबल अंडर सेक्शन 9B. अब ध्यान दें, 3 करोड़ की एसेट दे रही हैं और 2 करोड़ चेक दे रही है, चेक पेमेंट कर रही है, यानी रिटायरिंग पार्टनर को 5 करोड़ दे रही है कुल मिला के। ठीक है, तो अब 45(4) कैसे ऑपरेट होगा? तो लेट मी शेयर द स्क्रीन। मैंने 9 भी आपको बता दिया। अब a प्लस बी माइनस करते हैं इसको, a इज इक्वल टू बी प्लस सी माइनस डी। बी यानी 2 करोड़ कैश दे रही हैं, जो एसेट दे रही है उसकी मार्केट वैल्यू 3 करोड़ है, और मान लो उसकी कैपिटल अकाउंट की बैलेंस, मान लो उसकी कैपिटल अकाउंट की जो बैलेंस है वो 1.5 करोड़ रुपए है। कितना है? 1.5 करोड़ रुपए। तो कैपिटल गेन कितना बनेगा? 2 + 3 5, 5 - 1.5, that means there would be a 3.5 crore capital gain that would be taxable in the hands of firm। और सेक्शन 9B वाला जो कैपिटल गेन है वो तो टैक्सेबल होना ही है, और वो कितना है सेक्शन 9B वाला? क्योंकि उसकी WTB क्या थी फर्म के हाथ में? 1 करोड़, और मार्केट लो कितनी एसेट जो दे रहे हैं उसकी ऑफिस की 3 करोड़, तो वो गेन कितना है? 2 करोड़ रुपए, वो भी टैक्सेबल होने वाला है। तो 9B में टैक्स होगा 2 करोड़ रुपए, और सेक्शन 45(4) में टैक्स होगा 3.5 करोड़ रुपए। तो आई थिंक यू आर क्लियर। लेट मी क्विकली अगेन गिव द एग्जांपल। ऑफिस की WTB है 1 करोड़, उसको उन्होंने पार्टनर को दिया, उसकी FMV है 3 करोड़, यानी 1 करोड़ से 3 करोड़ का जो गेन हुआ 2 करोड़, दैट वुड बी टैक्सेबल अंडर सेक्शन 9B। अब पार्टनर का बैलेंस था कैपिटल अकाउंट का 1.5 करोड़, पार्टनर को 3 करोड़ वाली मिलकत दी गई है और 2 करोड़ चेक पेमेंट दिया गया है, यानी पार्टनर को मिले हैं 5 करोड़ और उसकी ओपनिंग बैलेंस है 1.5 करोड़, तो 3.5 करोड़ टैक्सेबल होंगे सेक्शन 45(4) के अंतर्गत। अब ये हो गया डबल टैक्सेशन। ठीक है, तो अब डबल टैक्सेशन को कैसे हटाया जाए, इसलिए उन्होंने सेक्शन 48 में कुछ बदलाव लाया है। सेक्शन 48 में हमें जानकारी है सेक्शन 48 क्या करती है। सेक्शन 48 डील्स विद द मैकेनिज्म ऑफ कंप्यूटिंग कैपिटल गेन, और कैपिटल गेन कंप्यूट करते वक्त वो 2 डिडक्शन देती है हमें। पहला डिडक्शन है एक्सपेंडिचर इन कनेक्शन विद ट्रांसफर which has been incurred wholly and exclusively in connection with transfer, और दूसरा डिडक्शन देती है कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन एंड कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट। ठीक है, उसमें अब उन्होंने थर्ड क्लोज इंट्रोड्यूस किया है टू अवॉइड द डबल टैक्सेशन। वो थर्ड क्लोज जो है वो मैं पढ़ने जा रहा हूं, पे अटेंशन ऑन द स्क्रीन। इट सेज 48 has been amended to mitigate the double taxation because of section 9B and 45(4), and it says that capital gain chargeable to tax under section 45(4) which is attributable to capital asset, जो capital asset को लेकर attributable है, that will be reduced while computing capital gain in the hands of firm, and capital gain attributable to such capital asset will be computed in a prescribed manner। अब प्रैक्टिकली देखने जाए तो ये जो 3.5 करोड़ है, ये 3.5 करोड़ जो है उसके अंदर ये जो 3.5 करोड़ 45(4) में टैक्सेबल है, उसमें जो एसेट की कीमत है 3 करोड़ वो इंक्लूडेड है, और 3 करोड़ का कैपिटल गेन भी इंक्लूडेड है। तो कैपिटल गेन वो माइनस करना होगा, और वो कैपिटल गेन आइडियली कितना माइनस करना चाहिए? जो 9B में चार्ज हो रहा है वो। बट वो बोल रहे नहीं नहीं, हम 2 करोड़ माइनस नहीं करेंगे। हम क्या माइनस करेंगे? हम प्रिस्क्राइब मैनर आपको बताएंगे। तो अनफॉर्चुनेटली प्रिस्क्राइब मैनर हैज नॉट येट कम। तो 9B का कंप्यूटेशन किस तरह होगा, लेट मी शेयर, पे अटेंशन। 9B का कंप्यूटेशन किस तरह दिखेगा अब जब रियल लाइफ में कैलकुलेट करेंगे तब। तो 9B में हम लेंगे फुल वैल्यू ऑफ कंसिडरेशन ऑफ एसेट, तो जो हमारे केस में वो 3 करोड़, माइनस एक्सपेंडिचर यहाँ कोई है नहीं इसलिए नील, एक्सपेंडिचर नील। कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन और कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट हमारा है 1 करोड़ सेक्शन 50 की हिसाब से WTB, तो हमारा गेन आया यहाँ 2 करोड़, और 2 करोड़ में से ये सेक्शन 48(3) बोल रही है कि अमाउंट चार्जेबल अंडर 45(4) विच इज एट्रीब्यूटेबल टू कैपिटल एसेट, जो सिविलिटी उसकी मैनर प्रिस्क्राइब करेगी वो हम माइनस करेंगे, वो हम यहाँ माइनस करेंगे, यहाँ माइनस करेंगे 2 करोड़ में से, और फिर जो बचेगा दैट वुड बी टैक्सेबल अंडर सेक्शन 9B। तो आई थिंक देयर वुड नॉट बी एनी डाउट टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस। तो सिंपल सी समरी में बोल देता हूं, and then we have to go for many amendments. Summary number 1, section 9B will be applicable in both the cases, dissolution as well as reconstitution. Section 9B will come into play only when two assets are given, capital assets and stock in trade. अगर money है तो section 9B will not come into picture. I repeat, अगर money है तो section 9B will not come into picture. Only capital asset and stock in trade. कैपिटल एसेट में से आपको कैपिटल गेन होगा. कैपिटल गेन कैसे निकालना है? जिस तरह हम सब एसेट का निकालते हैं उसी तरह निकालना है. स्टॉक इन ट्रेड में हमें क्या करना है? उसकी फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू लेनी है और बुक वैल्यू माइनस करके हमें बिजनेस गेन दिखाना है. सेक्शन 45(4) क्या कहती है? जो एसेट पार्टनर को दी जा रही है, सॉरी 45(4) कब एप्लीकेबल होगी? रिकंस्ट्रक्शन के टाइम पे एप्लीकेबल होगी. और जो एसेट पार्टनर को दी जा रही है उसकी वैल्यू प्लस मनी माइनस ओपनिंग बैलेंस ऑफ पार्टनर, दैट वुड बी डीम्ड गेन इन द हैंड्स ऑफ फर्म. इसलिए फर्म के हाथ में डबल टैक्सेशन हो रहा है. डबल टैक्सेशन मिटिगेट करने के लिए सेक्शन 48 में अमेंडमेंट है और 48 में लिखा है कि हम जो कैपिटल एसेट को लेकर डबल टैक्सेशन हो रहा है उसको रिड्यूस करने के लिए हम कोई प्रिस्क्राइब मैनर हम बताएंगे. अभी तक उन्होंने बताया नहीं. तो दिस इज व्हाट द एंटायर स्टोरी ऑफ 45(4), 9B and 48. नाउ लेट मी शेयर वन स्मॉल एग्जांपल आई हैव प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर डिसोल्यूशन. पे अटेंशन. राम एंड श्याम, बहुत छोटा सा सम मैंने तैयार किया है फटाफट. राम एंड श्याम दो पार्टनर हैं 1975 के. अच्छा ये ध्यान दे, मैं बोलना भूल गया, ये अमेंडमेंट रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव है. दैट मींस दिस अमेंडमेंट इज एप्लीकेबल फॉर द असेसमेंट ईयर 21-22. पे अटेंशन. दिस इज एप्लीकेबल फ्रॉम असेसमेंट ईयर 21-22. यानी अभी हम जो रिटर्न फाइल करने वाले हैं उसको ये एप्लीकेबल हो जाएगा. तो वी नीड टू बी केयरफुल. अब क्या कहता है एग्जाम्पल? राम एंड श्याम बहुत पुराने पार्टनर हैं और फरवरी 28 को वो फर्म को डिसॉल्व कर रहे हैं. अब ध्यान दे, अगर फर्म को डिसॉल्व कर रहे हैं तो सिर्फ 9B एप्लीकेबल होने वाली है, क्योंकि 45(4) एप्लीकेबल होती है रिकंस्ट्रक्शन के टाइम पे और डिसोल्यूशन के टाइम पे सिर्फ कौन सी सेक्शन एप्लीकेबल होने वाली है? 9B. जो राम है वो कमर्शियल प्रॉपर्टी ले जा रहा है और जो श्याम है वो स्टॉक इन ट्रेड ले जा रहा है और उसकी फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू है कमर्शियल प्रॉपर्टी की 45 लाख और स्टॉक की वैल्यू है 11 लाख. उन्होंने एग्रीड वैल्यू डिसोल्यूशन डेट पे बताया था 25 लाख और 11.5 लाख. कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन कमर्शियल प्रॉपर्टी की थी 20 लाख रुपए और स्टॉक इन ट्रेड की थी 9 लाख रुपए. लेकिन जो कमर्शियल प्रॉपर्टी थी वो डेप्रिशिएबल थी, इसलिए WDV उसकी है 7,22,500 और स्टॉक इन ट्रेड में WDV एप्लीकेबल नहीं होगी. तो व्हाट वुड बी द कैपिटल गेन इन द हैंड्स ऑफ फर्म? तो आई हैव ऑलरेडी सेड ओनली 9B वुड बी एप्लीकेबल. तो जो कैपिटल एसेट दिया जा रहा है राम को, उसका शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन होगा. कौन सी वैल्यू लेंगे हम? फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू लेंगे, दैट इज 45 लाख. उसमें से हम माइनस करेंगे सेक्शन 50 वाली कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन 7,22,500. तो देयर वुड बी ए शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन अंडर सेक्शन 9B 37,77,500. नंबर 1. नंबर 2, स्टॉक इन ट्रेड भी दिया जा रहा है. स्टॉक इन ट्रेड की मार्केट वैल्यू क्या है? अब ध्यान से देखिए 11 लाख रुपए है और स्टॉक इन ट्रेड की बुक वैल्यू कितनी है? 9 लाख रुपए. तो 2 लाख रुपए क्या हो जाएगा? फर्म के हाथ में बिजनेस गेन हो जाएगा. एंड आई ऑलरेडी सेड 45(4) इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल. 45(4) कब एप्लीकेबल होती है? ओनली फॉर रिकंस्टिट्यूशन. आई थिंक, आई होप यू आर क्लियर. तो डबल टैक्सेशन होने वाला है सिर्फ रिकंस्टिट्यूशन के टाइम पे, दैट्स ऑल. एंड कैसे कैलकुलेट करना है तो आई हैव ऑलरेडी एक्सप्लेन. आई एम नॉट नाउ रिपीटिंग द थिंग्स because we have to go through other amendments as well. Now look at next, that is goodwill. Now so far as goodwill is concerned, we all are aware that there was a Supreme Court judgment, Smith Security, where Supreme Court said that goodwill acquired on amalgamation is eligible for depreciation because we have got a definition of block of asset. A block of asset include intangible. And if you look at the intangible, they have written the word other business or commercial right of similar nature. And that word was subject matter of interpretation before the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court said that other business or commercial right of similar nature will take color from the earlier specific word called know-how, franchise, license. बहुत सारे लंबे word है. That's why Supreme Court says goodwill is also a business right. And that's why it is also eligible for depreciation. And everybody started claiming depreciation on goodwill at the rate of 25%. Now, what this budget proposed that goodwill would not be now be considered as a part of block of asset. उन्होंने block of asset के definition को बदल दिया. Section 2 subsection 11 was modified, and they have decided that goodwill will not be considered as a part of block of asset, and goodwill is now no more a depreciable asset, and that's why section 32 subsection 1 was also amended. And they have decided that no depreciation shall be allowed on goodwill. So it's fine, nothing wrong. They have decided. Now the problem is my block,
because we have got a system of computing depreciation on block value. In my block of intangible asset, there are 3 assets. Let us assume that I have got goodwill, I have got trademark, I have got franchise and license. So in my block, there are 3 assets. How do I segregate goodwill value out of block? उन्होंने तो लिख दिया कि गुडविल पे डेप्रिसिएशन नहीं मिलेगा, लेकिन मैं WTV जो मेरी है एज ऑन 1, ये भी रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव है, तो एज ऑन 1/4/20 जो मेरी WTV है उसके अंदर मैं गुडविल को कैसे हटाऊं? That they fail to write, and that's why they realized their mistake and they brought an amendment in section 436, which is a logical amendment. So let me straight away go to para number 2. Para number 2, section 436. In that they have made an amendment. So this clarity was brought out by the Finance Act 2021. और उन्होंने क्या बताया कि आपकी जो WTV है इंटेंजिबल की, उसमें से आपको गुडविल की वैल्यू माइनस करनी है. लेकिन कितनी वैल्यू माइनस करनी है? तो उन्होंने लिखा यू टेक इट ओरिजिनल कॉस्ट ऑफ गुडविल, उसमें से ये 2 चीज माइनस करें. नंबर ए, अमाउंट ऑफ डेप्रिसिएशन विच वाज एक्चुअली अलाउड बिफोर AY 8889 and depreciation that would have been allowable to the SSC as if goodwill was the only asset in the block of intangible. In short, कहना क्या चाह रहे हैं लोग? We all studied when we were doing CA कि जब भी आपने गुडविल लिया था, उन्होंने 2 साल लिखे हैं, एक 88-89 और 88-89 onwards. तो what is the reason for writing this 88-89? क्योंकि जो ब्लॉक सिस्टम है, जो सीनियर लोग हैं उनको याद होगा कि ब्लॉक सिस्टम वाज इंट्रोड्यूस आई थिंक दैट वाज फ्रॉम असेसमेंट ईयर 88-89. एक Am I audible? Hello. एक second, there is some system problem. So I am finding. Am I audible? Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I found perhaps I clicked something wrong, that you should join a meeting. That kind of message I found. I'm sorry. Okay, pay attention. 88-89 was the year from that they introduced the block system. Earlier there was an individual asset system. तो उन्होंने क्या बताया कि गुडविल मान लो आपकी बहुत पुरानी है, 1985 की है, तो 85 to 88-89 आपने जो डेप्रिसिएशन गुडविल पे लिया वो माइनस करें, और उसके बाद आप माइनस करते जाए एज इफ गुडविल इज द ओनली एसेट, और जितनी WTV बनती है वो WTV आप इंटेंजिबल की WTV में से माइनस कर दें. लेकिन उन्होंने एक अपर कैप रख दी. मान लो वो WTV इतनी ज्यादा हो गई कि आपकी ब्लॉक की वैल्यू से भी ज्यादा हो रही है, तो एम आई रिक्वायर्ड टू पे कैपिटल गेन? आंसर इज नो, यू आर नॉट रिक्वायर्ड टू पे कैपिटल गेन. आपको करना क्या है, आपकी WTV 0 कर देनी है और आपको डेप्रिसिएशन नहीं मिलेगा. लेट मी शेयर द एग्जांपल सो दैट यू कैन बेटर अंडरस्टैंड. पे अटेंशन. मान लो ABC है, उसके पास एक ब्लॉक है इंटेंजिबल एसेट का, उनके अंदर गुडविल है, ट्रेडमार्क है और लाइसेंस है. और गुडविल की WTV अगर हम निकाले एज इफ इट इज द ओनली एसेट, अगर ब्लॉक में अकेली गुडविल होती और उसकी WTV हम निकाले तो वो WTV बन रही है 56,25,000. ठीक है. और मैंने आपके सामने 2 सवाल रखे हैं. कंप्यूट WTV ऑफ ब्लॉक ऑफ इंटेंजिबल आफ्टर अमेंडमेंट अंडर 2 सिचुएशन. सिचुएशन 1, WTV of entire block is 82 lakh and WTV of entire block was 52 lakh. तो अगर हम पहला सिचुएशन देखते हैं कि तीनों एसेट मिला के WTV ओपनिंग है 82.5 लाख. ठीक है. तो उसमें से हम गुडविल की WTV माइनस करेंगे एज इफ इट इज द ओनली एसेट, यानी 56.25 हम माइनस करेंगे, और बाकी बची दैट इज कॉल्ड WTV फॉर द करंट ईयर, और उसके पर हम डेप्रिसिएशन लेंगे 6.5 लाख रुपए, 6.56 लाख. लेकिन मान लो आपका जो ब्लॉक है जिसके अंदर 3 एसेट है, उसकी ओपनिंग वैल्यू 52,50,000 है और गुडविल की वैल्यू मैंने क्या लिखी है क्वेश्चन में, 56 है. तो अब आप तीनों का मिला के आपका ओपनिंग वैल्यू 52 है, तो आप 56 कैसे माइनस करेंगे? तो लॉ क्या कहता है, कोई बात नहीं, आप 52 तक ही माइनस करें और आपकी WDV क्या बन जाएगी, नील बन जाएगी और आपको डेप्रिसिएशन मिलना बंद हो जाएगा. दैट इज वेरी सिंपल. इन शॉर्ट, आपको गुडविल की WDV निकालनी है एज इफ इट इज द ओनली एसेट, और जो WDV बनती है वो आपके इंटेंजिबल के ब्लॉक में से माइनस करनी है. ब्लॉक में से माइनस करते हुए ध्यान रखना है कि अगर उसकी वैल्यू ज्यादा है तो ब्लॉक बिकम्स नील. दैट्स ऑल. यू आर नॉट रिक्वायर्ड टू राइट नाउ पे एनी कैपिटल गेन. So this is what the amendment under section 436. Third amendment, that is also very, very important. I have covered a practical for that. Slum sale. Slum sale, we are all aware what is the meaning of slum sale. What slum sale says that there is a transfer of one or more undertaking for a lump sum consideration without assigning value, specific values for asset and liabilities. यानी एसेट लायबिलिटी की वैल्यू असाइन किए बिना हम क्या कर रहे हैं, लमसम में बिजनेस बेच रहे हैं या बिजनेस यूनिट बेच रहे हैं. दैट इज कॉल्ड व्हाट, ए स्लम सेल. नाउ देयर वेर जजमेंट्स. आई थिंक इट वाज द फर्स्ट जजमेंट फ्रॉम द हाई कोर्ट. इट वाज बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट. दैट लॉ रिक्वायर्स वर्ड सेल. दैट मीन्स इफ अंडर स्लम सेल द सेल इज मिसिंग, then capital gain cannot be attracted. And the old Supreme Court judgment was applied that calculation machinery fails, and that's why in that event capital gain cannot be measured, and that's why capital gain tax cannot be levied. तो वो सिचुएशन कैसे आएगी जब सेल नहीं है? सेल नहीं है यानी एक्सचेंज है. तो द केस इज स्लम्प एक्सचेंज, और वी कैन से बार्टर सिस्टम. यानी मैं मेरा बिजनेस दे रहा हूं कोई कंपनी को, लमसम में मेरा बिजनेस दे रहा हूं, और उस कंपनी के सामने मैं शेयर ले रहा हूं. तो आई एम एक्वायरिंग शेयर्स as a consideration for transfer of my business unit for a lump sum consideration, or consideration I am not getting money, but I am getting what, shares. That means there is an exchange. I am exchanging my business unit for what, shares. It is not a sale. इसलिए बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट क्या कहना था, इट इज नॉट अ सेल, दैट्स व्हाई स्लम सेल डेफिनेशन फेल्स. स्लम सेल डेफिनेशन फेल्स, दैट्स व्हाई देयर कैन नॉट बी अ कैपिटल गेन टैक्स. लेकिन उन्होंने जब बजट प्रेजेंट किया तब उन्होंने क्या बताया कि हम अब सेल वर्ड को हटा दे रहे हैं, और हम क्या लिख रहे हैं, लेट मी शेयर. हम क्या लिख रहे हैं, हम लिख रहे हैं ट्रांसफर बाय एनी मींस. ध्यान से देखें, जो पुराना लॉ था क्या था, अंडरटेकिंग एज ए रिजल्ट ऑफ सेल उन्होंने हटा दिया, और नया वर्ड क्या लिख दिया उन्होंने, अंडरटेकिंग बाय एनी मींस. अंडरटेकिंग बाय एनी मींस. और उन्होंने साथ साथ ये भी लिख दिया कि जो ट्रांसफर वर्ड यहां है, इट शैल हैव सेम मीनिंग एज पर सेक्शन 247. यानी डेफिनेशन ऑफ ट्रांसफर में क्या लिखा है, सेल, एक्सचेंज, रिलिंक्विशमेंट. आई रिपीट, सेल, एक्सचेंज, रिलिंक्विशमेंट, एक्सटिंग्विशमेंट, एवरीथिंग इज एप्लीकेबल टू स्लम्प एक्सचेंज और स्लम्प सेल. इन शॉर्ट, अगर आप, जो मैंने एग्जांपल बताया कि आप बिजनेस यूनिट बेच रहे हैं और सामने क्या ले रहे हैं, शेयर्स ले रहे हैं, देन ऑल्सो यू हैव टू पे कैपिटल गेन टैक्स. आई थिंक दिस पार्ट इज वेरी क्लियर. नाउ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट अमेंडमेंट दे कैरिड आउट. स्लम सेल में हम कैपिटल गेन कैसे कैलकुलेट करते थे, लेट मी शेयर द थियरी. दिस आई हैव पिक्ड अप फ्रॉम माय बुक. लॉ क्या कहता है, एनी प्रॉफिट्स एंड गेन अराइजिंग फ्रॉम स्लम सेल shall be deemed as a long term capital gain. Normally it is deemed as a long term capital gain, and it will be chargeable tax in the year in which transfer took place. लेकिन मान लो आपका जो बिजनेस यूनिट है उसका एज 36 months से कम है, तो बिजनेस यूनिट इज नॉट owned by a period more than 36 months, then it would be a short term. In short, primarily it is long term, but अगर बिजनेस यूनिट 36 महीने से कम का है, that would be a short term. नंबर बी, स्लम सेल में कैपिटल गेन कैसे कैलकुलेट करेंगे, तो व्हाट इज द कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन, देन नेटवर्थ विल बी टेकन एज कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन एंड कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट. तो जब हम कैपिटल गेन कैलकुलेट करने जाएंगे तो नेटवर्थ विल बी ट्रीटेड एज कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन एंड कॉस्ट ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट. ठीक है. अब वो नेटवर्थ कैसे कैलकुलेट करेंगे, तो नेटवर्थ का उन्होंने मीनिंग बताया है, उस मीनिंग में उन्होंने एक अमेंडमेंट किया है. नेटवर्थ देयर इज एन अमेंडमेंट. तो नेटवर्थ कैसे कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं, तो ध्यान से देखें. अगर डेप्रिसिबल एसेट है तो हमें WDV लेनी है 436 के मुताबिक. अगर वो क्या है, डेप्रिसिबल एसेट है, तो हमें WDV लेनी है. ठीक है. और WDV बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है. आई हैव कवर्ड अ वंडरफुल प्रैक्टिकल इन माय बुक. आई एम नॉट राइट नाउ गोइंग टू डिस्कस दैट. उन्होंने लिख दिया है छोटा सा वर्ड, सब आइटम सी ऑफ सेक्शन 436C1, बट वो बहुत बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है, बहुत बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है. एक सेकेंड. Now, pay attention. I'm sorry for interruption. तो इन शॉर्ट डेप्रिसिएबल एसेट को नेटवर्थ कैलकुलेट कर डेप्रिसिएबल एसेट को लेकर हमें लेना है WDV. अगर 35 AD वाली एसेट है तो उसका तो हमने डिडक्शन ले लिया होगा, इसलिए उन्होंने लिखा नील. एंड आई वाज ऑलवेज कमेंटिंग व्हाइल टीचिंग दिस स्लम सेल, गुडविल को लेकर उन्होंने कुछ नहीं लिखा था. गुडविल को लेकर भी उन्होंने लिख दिया नील. और बाकी जो सारी एसेट है उसको लेकर उन्होंने लिखा है बुक वैल्यू. उसको लेकर उन्होंने लिखा है बुक वैल्यू. देन यू फाइंड द सब टोटल ऑफ ऑल द एसेट्स. उसमें से आप लायबिलिटी माइनस करो एट बुक वैल्यू and then you will get net worth. So in short, it's very simple. Net worth will become your cost of acquisition, cost of improvement. Net worth कैसे निकालेंगे? डेप्रिसिएबल एसेट को लेकर WDV लेंगे, 35 AD को लेकर नील लेंगे, और अगर गुडविल सेल्फ एक्वायर्ड या सॉरी गुडविल परचेज गुडविल नहीं है, सेल्फ जनरेटेड गुडविल है, तो उसकी वैल्यू भी हम लेंगे नील. अदर एसेट को लेकर हम लेंगे बुक वैल्यू, उसमें से लायबिलिटी माइनस करेंगे, देन विल गेट नेट वर्थ. और उन्होंने ये भी क्लैरिफाई कर दिया था कि चेंज इन रिवैल्यूएशन शैल बी इग्नोर्ड व्हाइल कंप्यूटिंग नेट वर्थ. अब एक अमेंडमेंट आया है बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट, नंबर C. इन केस ऑफ स्लम सेल, जो अभी उन्होंने ये बजट पास करते पहले लोकसभा में रखा, 127 अमेंडमेंट का हिस्सा था. फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू ऑफ कैपिटल एसेट ऑन डेट ऑफ ट्रांसफर which is to be calculated in a prescribed manner is deemed to be the full value of consideration arising as a result of transfer of capital asset. तो ये जरूरी था. जैसे मैंने एग्जांपल दिया कि मैंने मेरा बिजनेस यूनिट आपको बेच दिया, लमसम तय हुआ, हमारा प्राइस तय हुआ 5 करोड़ रुपए, और आपने मुझे 5 करोड़ रुपए के शेयर दे दिए. ठीक है. नाउ क्वेश्चन में अराइज कि ये 5 करोड़ के शेयर तो वी कैन प्लान आउट बाय डूइंग सम कॉल्यूजन, क्योंकि सही में तो मैंने जो आपको बिजनेस यूनिट बेचा है वो 7 करोड़ का बेचा है, लेकिन हमने पेपर पे दिखाया 5 करोड़, आपने मुझे 5 करोड़ के शेयर दे दिए, और 2 करोड़ रुपए आपने मुझे 2 नंबर के पैसे दे दिए फॉर एग्जाम्पल. तो इसको पकड़ने के लिए उन्होंने क्या कर दिया कि नहीं, आपका सेल कंसिडरेशन क्या लेंगे हम, तो उन्होंने अमेंडमेंट कर दिया, आपका सेल कंसिडरेशन हम लेंगे फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू ऑफ द एसेट ट्रांसफर्ड अंडर स्लम सेल. उसकी हमें फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू निकालनी होगी. नाउ क्वेश्चन में राइज हाउ टू अराइव एट फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू, वो बोलते हैं सीबीडीटी उसको प्रिस्क्राइब करेगी. यानी ये जो बजट है उसके अंदर वैल्यूएशन के काम बहुत बढ़ने वाले हैं, खास करके लैंड बिल्डिंग, शेयर्स के वैल्यूएशन के, क्योंकि बहुत सारे वैल्यूएशन की जरूरत पड़ेगी. बिकॉज लॉ सेज वी विल प्रिस्क्राइब, एंड प्रिस्क्राइब मैनर वुड बी डेफिनेटली दे विल राइट इट टू बी आइदर मर्चेंट बैंकर और ए रजिस्टर्ड वैल्यूअर अंडर आईपी एक्ट और ए वैल्यूअर रजिस्टर्ड अंडर द सर्वेयर एक्ट. ऐसे वो डेफिनेशन देने वाले हैं. तो हियर आइडिया इज कि नाउ कंसिडरेशन वुड नॉट बी व्हाट यू आर एक्चुअली रिसीविंग, कंसिडरेशन वुड बी फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू ऑफ द एसेट ट्रांसफर्ड अंडर स्लम सेल, और वो भी कंप्यूट करना है एज पर द मैनर प्रिस्क्राइब बाय द सीबीडीटी. तो लेट अस सी वन प्रैक्टिकल आई हैव प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू, बिकॉज दे कमिटेड वन वंडरफुल एरर, एंड दैट एरर आई एम श्योर यू विल फाइंड इन नेक्स्ट बजट टू बी करेक्टेड. जो मैं बोलने जा रहा हूं वो एरर वो नेक्स्ट बजट में करेक्ट करेंगे. अब ध्यान दे, स्लम सेल में उन्होंने ऐसे ही लिख दिया है पहले से ही बिफोर अमेंडमेंट कि इंडेक्सेशन विल नॉट बी अवेलेबल. अब एरर क्या है, तो मैं आपको एग्जांपल बताता हूं. छोटा सा एग्जांपल है. मान ले कोई हमारा मिस्टर ए है, इज ए प्रोप्राइटर ऑफ आकाश एंटरप्राइज. आकाश एंटरप्राइज के पास 2 यूनिट है, और 1 अप्रैल 21 को यूनिट 1 जो है वो स्लम सेल के बेच रहा है, और ये यूनिट बेचने का उसका जो ट्रांसफर का खर्चा हुआ, एक्सपेंडिचर इन कनेक्शन विद ट्रांसफर वाज 28,000, और ये यूनिट 1 की जो नेटवर्थ है मान लो वो 12.5 लाख रुपए हैं, जो मैंने आपको फॉर्मेट बताया था नेटवर्थ का, WDV, फिर 35 AD की नील, गुडविल की वैल्यू नील, अदर एसेट बुक वैल्यू, ऐसा करके निकाला तो 12.5 लाख. और जो प्रिस्क्राइब मैनर बताया है फुल वैल्यू ऑफ कंसिडरेशन एज पर सेक्शन 50B, यानी जो FMV है, जो एसेट फुल वैल्यू ऑफ कंसिडरेशन निकाल रहे हैं, वो बन रहा है 26,78,000. यानी सीबीडीटी की गाइडलाइन के हिसाब से उसकी कंसिडरेशन बन रही है 26,78,000. और मैंने आपके सामने सवाल रखा है, फाइंड आउट कैपिटल गेन इन द हैंड्स ऑफ मिस्टर ए अंडर 2 ऑल्टरनेटिव्स. ऑल्टरनेटिव 1, मिस्टर ए यूनिट 1 को बेच रहा है फॉर ए कंसिडरेशन ऑफ 25 लाख, एंड ऑल्टरनेटिव बी, मिस्टर ए यूनिट बेच रहा है फॉर ए कंसिडरेशन ऑफ 30 लाख. नाउ पे अटेंशन. उन्होंने वैल्यू कितनी बताई है, 50B के हिसाब से 26,78,000. ठीक है, उन्होंने वैल्यू बताई है 26,78,000, जबकि ऑल्टरनेटिव ए में वो बेच रहा है 25 लाख पे। तो लॉ क्या कहता है, आपका 25 लाख ठीक है, हम नहीं मानेंगे। लॉ में तो लिख दिया है कि आपका कंसिडरेशन कितना माना जाएगा, हम जो मैनर में बोलेंगे उस तरह आपको कैलकुलेट करना होगा, और वो अमाउंट बन रही है 26,78, यानी आपका कंसिडरेशन होगा 26,78। तो पे अटेंशन ऑन दी वैल्यू कैलकुलेशन ऑन द स्क्रीन। तो सेल कंसिडरेशन हम लेंगे 26,78 अंडर ऑल्टरनेटिव 1। ऑल्टरनेटिव 1 में हम लेंगे 26,78, इवन दो ही रिसीव 25 लाख, लेकिन हमें लेना कितना होगा 26,78। अब उसमें से उसका एक्सपेंस कितना हुआ है 28,000 रुपए, वो हम माइनस करेंगे। तो नेट कंसिडरेशन आया स्लम सेल का 26,50,000, और नेटवर्थ है कितनी, मैंने ऑलरेडी आपको बता दिया, नेटवर्थ 12.5 लाख रुपए। देयर इज अ टाइपिंग एरर, 12.5 लाख। तो नेटवर्थ है 12.5 लाख, तो 26.5 में से आप 12.5 हटाओ तो एलटीसीजी आएगा 14 लाख रुपए, अराइजिंग ऑन अकाउंट ऑफ स्लम सेल। ठीक है, तो ऑल्टरनेटिव 1 में कहना मैं ये चाहता हूं कि डिपार्टमेंट के हिसाब से वैल्यूएशन बन रहा है 26,78, और मैंने पैसे लिए हैं सिर्फ 25 लाख। तो वो बोलते हैं कि हम 26,78 पे कैपिटल गेन कैलकुलेट करेंगे, बराबर है। अब ऑल्टरनेटिव 2 में ध्यान दें, मुझे मिले हैं 30 लाख, मुझे मिले हैं 30 लाख, यानी डिपार्टमेंट का वैल्यूएशन है 26,78 और मुझे मिले हैं ज्यादा स्लम सेल में। लेकिन सरप्राइजिंगली, आई रिपीट, सरप्राइजिंगली दे फेल टू ड्राफ्ट सेक्शन प्रॉपरली। अगर आप याद करें 50 CA सेक्शन याद करें, 50 CA, अगर मैं क्लोजली हेल्ड कंपनी के शेयर बेचता हूं तो उसका मुझे वैल्यूएशन करना है। FMV विल बी फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू on the date of transfer to be computed in a prescribed manner, और एक्चुअल कंसिडरेशन whichever is higher, यानी डिपार्टमेंट का जो वैल्यूएशन बन रहा है वो, या मुझे जो कंसिडरेशन मिल रहा है वो, दोनों में से जो हायर होगा उसके पर मुझे कैपिटल गेन कैलकुलेट करना होगा। नेचुरल है, एकदम नेचुरल है। लेकिन यहाँ हायर लिखना भूल गए, यानी इस सिचुएशन में आंसर क्या बनेगा, वेरी इंटरेस्टिंगली आप देखें, यहाँ हायर लिखना भूल गए, इसलिए आंसर क्या बनेगा, इवन दो आई रिसीव्ड 30 लाख, my consideration would not be 30 lakh, I will write 2678, क्योंकि उन्होंने लॉ में कंसिडरेशन फिक्स कर दिया है कि एफएमवी जो तय होगी वो आपकी कंसिडरेशन बनेगी। जो हम प्रिस्क्राइब मैनर बताने वाले हैं वो आपका कंसिडरेशन बनेगा, आपको जो मिला है वो आपका कंसिडरेशन नहीं बनेगा। आइडियली उनको क्या लिखना चाहिए कि हम जो तय करेंगे वो, और आपको जो मिला है वो, बोथ ऑफ देम, उसमें से जो हायर है that would be a consideration, but our misfortune that they failed to draft, and I am sure next budget you will have retrospective amendment. आगे देखते हैं पॉइंट नंबर 4, पीएफ को लेकर we are aware of the announcement was that those who are contributing more than 2.5 lakh, then whatever excess contribution takes place, on that whatever interest income is earned, that interest income would be chargeable to tax. So that we are all aware that that was the proposal made in this finance bill 2021 on 1st day of February. Now, this was done by way of amending the law. और अब उन्होंने क्या कर दिया, ये जो 2.5 लाख हैं उसमें उन्होंने लिमिट बढ़ा दी है, लेकिन लिमिट बहुत इंटरेस्टिंगली बढ़ाई है। दैट लिमिट वाज इंक्रीज बाय इंसर्टिंग सेकंड प्रोवाइजो, यानी पहली लिमिट तो लागू होगी, तो पहली लिमिट क्या है मैं पढ़ रहा हूं, ध्यान से पढ़ें। It says that no exemption shall be available for interest income accrued during the previous year in a recognized and statutory provident fund to the extent it relates to the contribution made by employee over 2,50,000, यानी 2,50,000 के ऊपर जो एम्प्लॉय का कंट्रीब्यूशन जाएगा उसके ऊपर जो इंटरेस्ट कमाएंगे उसका सेक्शन 10, 11 और 12 में एग्जेम्पशन नहीं मिलेगा। ठीक है, अब ध्यान दें, अब वो क्या बोल रहे हैं सेकंड प्रोवाइजो, ये कहता है इफ एम्प्लॉय इज कंट्रीब्यूटिंग द फंड, ध्यान से पढ़े, if employee is contributing the fund but there is no contribution by the employer, यानी जिस केस में एम्प्लॉयर कंट्रीब्यूशन 0 है उनको लेकर उन्होंने सेकंड प्रोवाइजो दाखिल किया है। आई रिपीट, जिस केस में एम्प्लॉयर कंट्रीब्यूशन 0 है उस केस में उन्होंने लिखा है कि इंटरेस्ट इनकम shall be taxable to the extent it relates to the contribution made by employee to that fund in excess of ₹5 lakh. तो 5 लाख के ऊपर जो जाएगा फॉर दैट पोर्शन इंटरेस्ट वुड बी टैक्सेबल, बट कंडीशन क्या है, एम्प्लॉयर इज कंट्रीब्यूटिंग 0, तो एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं, 2 एग्जाम्पल है, 2 लाख, 4 लाख, 6 लाख। और यहां क्या है, आप ध्यान से देखेंगे, एम्प्लॉयर इज कंट्रीब्यूटिंग, यस है। अगर यस है तो लिमिट कौन सी लगने वाली है, यहां लिमिट लगने वाली है 2.5 लाख की। अगर एम्प्लॉयर कंट्रीब्यूट करता है तो 2.5 लाख, अगर एम्प्लॉयर कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं करता है एम्प्लॉयर, तो ही लिमिट 5 लाख की है। ठीक है, तो यहां क्या होगा, पहले सिचुएशन में एम्प्लॉय का कंट्रीब्यूशन है 2 लाख, तो लिमिट के अंदर है, तो नो इंटरेस्ट वुड बी टैक्सेबल। दूसरे में है 4 लाख है, तो 2.5 लाख से ऊपर कितना है, 1.5 लाख, तो 1.5 लाख के ऊपर का जो इंटरेस्ट बनेगा दैट इज गोइंग टू बी टैक्सेबल। और तीसरा एग्जांपल है 6 लाख, तो 2.5 लाख से ऊपर कितना गया, 6 माइनस 2.5 करेंगे तो 3.5 लाख, तो 3.5 लाख के ऊपर इंटरेस्ट क्या होगा, टैक्सेबल होगा। अब वही एग्जाम्पल को मैंने दोहराया है, 2 लाख, 4 लाख, 6 लाख, लेकिन फर्क क्या है, यहां एम्प्लॉयर कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं कर रहा है। अगर एम्प्लॉयर कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं कर रहा है तो ये लिमिट कितनी बन जाएगी, 5 लाख की। तो यहां 2 लाख कंट्रीब्यूट किया है तो नो टैक्स, 4 लाख किया है तो नो टैक्स, और 6 लाख किया है तो 6 में से आप 5 हटाओ तो 1 लाख के ऊपर जो इंटरेस्ट बनेगा दैट इज गोइंग टू बी टैक्सेबल। आई थिंक यू आर क्लियर ऑन दिस पार्ट। नाउ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग, अब जो मैं बोलने जा रहा हूं that is going to be many videos. I think we have got a video of our CCM प्रमोद जैन, आई थिंक उन्होंने बताया कि हमारी टैक्स ऑडिट की लिमिट जो 1 करोड़ की 5 करोड़ हो गई थी, और फरवरी में वो 5 करोड़ की 10 करोड़ हो गई थी, अब वो 10 करोड़ से कम होकर 1 करोड़ हो गई। अब 5 करोड़ 10 करोड़ वाली जो लिमिट जो भी हमने देखी थी उसका कोई मीनिंग नहीं रहा, अब वापस लिमिट 1 करोड़ हो गई है। तो सवाल ये उठता है कि 1 करोड़ लिमिट कैसे हो गई। तो लेट अस लुक एट द एक्ट। मैंने आपके सामने बैरेट रखा है, आप बैरेट देखेंगे अपने आपको समझ में आ जाएगा कि लिमिट 1 करोड़ कैसे हो गई है। पे अटेंशन ऑन द स्क्रीन। मैंने रिलेवेंट क्लोज लिया है, सेक्शन 44 AB का क्लोज नंबर ए लिया है बैरेट में। आप जो देख रहे हैं ये रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव अमेंडमेंट है, और मैंने लिया है सेक्शन 44 AB उसका क्लोज ए। ठीक है, उसमें 5 क्लोज है, ABCDE, तो सिर्फ हम क्लोज ए देख रहे हैं। और क्लोज ए में आप ये जो प्रोवाइजो देख रहे हैं, ये जो प्रोवाइजो है ये फरवरी से मार्च के बीच में प्रोवाइजो उन्होंने इंट्रोड्यूस किया पार्लियामेंट में, जो अभी एक्ट के फॉर्म में हमारे सामने है। तो मैं पढ़ रहा हूं क्या कहता है क्लोज नंबर ए। इफ यू आर कैरिंग ऑन बिजनेस, इफ टोटल सेल टर्नओवर ग्रॉस रिसीव एज द केस में भी एक्सीड 1 करोड़ रुपी, अगर आपका बिजनेस है और आपका सेल टर्नओवर 1 करोड़ से ज्यादा है तो आपको ऑडिट कराना है। लेकिन एक प्रोवाइजो लिखा था, प्रोवाइजो क्या था मैं उसको पढ़ रहा हूं डिटेल में। एग्रीगेट ऑफ ऑल अमाउंट रिसीव्ड इंक्लूडिंग रिसीव्ड फॉर सेल्स टर्नओवर ड्यूरिंग द प्रीवियस ईयर इन कैश डज नॉट एक्सीड 5% ऑफ सेड अमाउंट। यानी आपका जो कलेक्शन आ रहा है पूरे बिजनेस में, टोटल अमाउंट रिसीव्ड, उसमें जो कैश कलेक्शन है दैट शुड नॉट एक्सीड 5%। एंड आपके जितने भी पेमेंट है इंक्लूडिंग पेमेंट फॉर एक्सपेंडिचर, उसमें जो कैश कंपोनेंट है डज नॉट एक्सीड 5%। तो आप ध्यान से देखें वहां दोनों जगह कैश वर्ड लिखा है। ठीक है, ये जो कैश कंपोनेंट है वो अगर 5% से कम है तो 1 करोड़ की जो लिमिट थी टैक्स ऑडिट की, वो 1 करोड़ की लिमिट पहले 5 करोड़ थी, और अब 5 करोड़ से बढ़ा के कितनी कर दी इस बजट में, 10 करोड़। तो यू आर ऑलरेडी अवेयर कि अगर हमारे क्लाइंट का क्या लिखा था वर्ड कैश कलेक्शन फ्रॉम एनी काइंड ऑफ ऑपरेशंस, मे बी कैपिटल ऑपरेशंस और मे बी सेल ऑफ कैपिटल एसेट ऑपरेशन और मे बी सेल ऑफ गुड सर्विसेज ऑपरेशन, कोई भी कलेक्शन है बिजनेस में, अगर वो कैश कलेक्शन 5% से कम है टोटल कलेक्शन के, और पेमेंट जितने भी है उस टोटल पेमेंट के कैश पेमेंट 5% से अंदर है, तो 1 करोड़ के बजाय अब लिमिट क्या होगी, 10 करोड़। अब जो कैश वर्ड है उसको लेकर उन्होंने प्रोवाइजो दाखिल किया, वो पढ़ते हैं, एंड देन यू विल अंडरस्टैंड दैट लिमिट इज नाउ नो मोर 10 करोड़, लिमिट इज नो मोर 10 करोड़, इट इज नाउ 1 करोड़। हाउ, लेट मी एक्सप्लेन, पे अटेंशन द स्क्रीन। अब ये फाइनेंस एक्ट में उन्होंने अमेंडमेंट क्या किया, ध्यान से पढ़ें। प्रोवाइडेड फर्दर दैट फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ दिस क्लोज, जो भी वर्ड हमने पढ़ा पेमेंट और रिसिप्ट एक्ट में, अगर वो चेक ड्रॉन ऑन बैंक है या ड्राफ्ट है और वो चेक ड्रोन या ड्राफ्ट अकाउंट पे ही नहीं है, देन इट इज डीम्ड दैट इट इज मेड इन कैश। यानी किसको कैश बोलेंगे, ध्यान से समझे। जो भी पेमेंट अकाउंट पे ही चेक से आया है, सॉरी, जो भी पेमेंट चेक से आया है या ड्राफ्ट से आया है, अगर वो अकाउंट पे ही नहीं है तो उसको कैश माना जाएगा। आर यू गेटिंग? जो भी कलेक्शन आया या जो भी पेमेंट किया, अगर वो चेक से हुआ है और वो चेक अकाउंट पे ही चेक नहीं निकला, या अगर वो ड्राफ्ट से हुआ है और वो अगर अकाउंट पे ही ड्राफ्ट नहीं निकला, तो उसको कैश माना जाएगा। अब दिक्कत क्या होगी, अब समझ रहे हैं। मान लो मैं बिजनेस लेकर बैठा हूं, अब मुझे हर रोज कलेक्शन आते ही रहते हैं। अब मान लो किसी ने मेरे खाते में चेक जमा करवा दिया, अब तो बहुत कॉमन है, चेक ड्रॉप बॉक्स में डाल दो। उसने कोई चेक जमा करवा दिया, मुझे मान लो मुझे उससे 5 लाख लेने थे, अब उसने क्रॉस चेक डाल के बॉक्स में डाल दिया, बराबर है मेरी बैंक में। मान लो मेरी बैंक है एक्सिस बैंक, तो एक्सिस बैंक में उसने डाल दिया मेरा खाता नाम कर, और एक्सिस बैंक ने मुझे क्रेडिट दे दिया। अब मुझे तो मालूम नहीं है उसने अकाउंट पे डाला था या क्रॉस डाला था। हाउ कैन बीइंग ए टैक्स पेयर आई एम अवेयर कि उसने किस तरह से चेक डाला होगा। तो इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर द टैक्स पेयर टू हैव एविडेंस ऑन हैंड कि जितने भी कलेक्शन आए हैं वो सारे अकाउंट पे चेक से आए, और जितने भी उसने पेमेंट किए, चलो पेमेंट तो उसके हाथ में है तो ही कैन कंट्रोल, बट जितने कलेक्शन आए हैं हाउ कैन ही कंट्रोल कि वो अकाउंट पे चेक से आए होंगे। मान लो किसी ने ड्राफ्ट डाल दिया उसके खाते में, तो हाउ कैन ही नो कि दैट ड्राफ्ट इज एन अकाउंट पे ड्राफ्ट। अब क्या होगा, एसएससी डज नॉट नो। जैसे हमारा 40A3 है, 40A3 में भी यही इश्यू है। मान लो 269 एसएसटी है, वहां भी हम 269 एसएसटी और एसटी, वहां भी हम क्या लिखते हैं, वहां भी हमें पूछते हैं अकाउंट पे चेक, तो हम बोलते हैं इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू डिसाइड, वी कैन नॉट डिसाइड दैट वेदर द पेमेंट इज मेड बाय अकाउंट पे चेक और नॉट। तो ऑनर्स लाई ऑन टैक्स पेयर ओनली, और टैक्स पेयर कैन नॉट डिस्चार्ज ऑनर्स। इसलिए इस सिचुएशन में टैक्स पेयर इज इन हैंडीकैप, क्योंकि मान लो उसने ऑडिट नहीं करवाया 10 करोड़ की लिमिट समझ के, एन असेसिंग ऑफिसर विल आस्क कि आई वांट टू लेवी पेनल्टी, यू शुड एस्टैब्लिश योर केस दैट यू आर नॉट सब्जेक्ट टू ऑडिट, यू शुड गिव ऑल द एविडेंसेस ऑफ एंटायर कलेक्शन। तो टैक्स पेयर को क्या करना पड़ेगा, बैंक में जाना पड़ेगा, बैंक से सर्टिफिकेट लेने पड़ेंगे कि जितने भी कलेक्शन मेरे पास आए हैं वो सारे अकाउंट पे ही चेक से थे, और जितना भी पेमेंट हुआ है वो अकाउंट पे ही चेक से पेमेंट हुआ है। इट्स वेरी वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर एनी बिजनेसमैन टू मॉनिटर दिस। Therefore, eventuality, more or less, this proviso nobody can take benefit. इसलिए 10 करोड़ वाला प्रोवाइजो वाला बेनिफिट कोई ले नहीं पाएगा। ऑटोमेटिकली ये क्या हो जाएगा, 1 करोड़ हो जाएगा। यानी क्लाइंट हमें बोलेगा कि साहब 10 करोड़ की लिमिट हो गई है, देन वी विल आस्क कि तुम मुझे प्रूफ दो, तो मैं ऑडिट नहीं करूंगा। तुम्हारे पास प्रूफ है कि तुम्हारे जितने भी कलेक्शन आए हैं वो अकाउंट पे ही चेक ही होंगे और अकाउंट पे ही ड्राफ्ट ही होंगे। यानी इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि 10 करोड़ का बेनिफिट कौन ले पाएगा, नाउ पे अटेंशन। 10 करोड़ का बेनिफिट सिर्फ वो ले पाएगा जिसके बिजनेस में सिर्फ क्या है, एनईएफटी, आरटीजीएस, यूपीआई, ये जो है वो लोग ले पाएंगे, क्योंकि वो क्या है, बैंक स्टेटमेंट में लिख के आता है। यू गॉट द पॉइंट। तो दे कैन ऑलवेज टेक बेनिफिट, क्योंकि दैट इज क्लियरली मेंशन। अगर वो प्रूव कर सकते हैं कि मेरा कलेक्शन इस तरह ही आता है, देन दे विल बी लकी, दे कैन टेक एडवांटेज ऑफ 10 करोड़। लेकिन जिसका कलेक्शन अकाउंट पे ही चेक है, अकाउंट पे ड्राफ्ट से आ रहा है, वो मरने वाला है, बिकॉज ही कैन नॉट गिव ए गारंटी कि मेरा सारा कलेक्शन किस तरह आया है, अकाउंट पे चेक से, अकाउंट पे ड्राफ्ट से आया है। तो फॉर हिम इट विल बी डिफिकल्ट टू प्रूव। दैट्स व्हाई वेरियस वीडियोस यू आर फाइंडिंग दैट लिमिट हैज बीन रिड्यूस्ड फ्रॉम 10 करोड़ टू 1 करोड़। So I think you are clear on that part. Let me move further because I am left with few minutes. We have got next speaker also. Next 44 ADA, ये तो बहुत बड़ा काम किया है उन्होंने। पुराना 44 ADA क्या था बिफोर अमेंडमेंट? तो पुराना 44 ADA कौन ले पाया था बेनिफिट? पर्सन हु इज रेसिडेंट एंगेज्ड इन प्रोफेशन, 44 AA। तो 44 ADA आपको ध्यान में है, 44 ADA का बेनिफिट कौन ले सकता है? प्रोफेशनल। बट कौन ले पाता था? एनी पर्सन हु इज रेसिडेंट इन इंडिया। इसका मतलब पार्टनरशिप फर्म कैन टेक एडवांटेज, LLP कैन टेक एडवांटेज, कंपनी कैन टेक एडवांटेज, प्रोवाइडेड ही शुड बी रेसिडेंट। 44 ADA का बेनिफिट। फिर उन्होंने बिल में क्या प्रपोज किया था? बिल में उन्होंने 44 AD का कॉपी किया था। 44 AD आपके ध्यान में है? 44 AD में 3 लोग बेनिफिट ले सकते हैं, इंडिविजुअल, HUF और पार्टनरशिप फर्म, अदर देन LLP। तो उन्होंने कॉपी किया इंडिविजुअल, HUF, पार्टनरशिप फर्म, अदर देन LLP। फिर उनको वापस ध्यान में आया कि हाउ HUF कैन रन द प्रोफेशन, HUF कैन नेवर रन द प्रोफेशन। इसलिए वापस उन्होंने ये जब एक्ट बना तब उन्होंने रेसिडेंट को तो हटा दिया और ध्यान से देखेंगे तो सिर्फ दो चीज रखी, इंडिविजुअल एंड पार्टनरशिप फर्म। तो इन शॉर्ट 44 एडीए का बेनिफिट कौन ले पाएगा? दो लोग ले पाएंगे, एक रेसिडेंट इंडिविजुअल और दूसरा रेसिडेंट पार्टनरशिप फर्म। ध्यान दे, LLP कैन नॉट टेक एडवांटेज ऑफ 44 ADA because LLP is required to maintain books of account under LLP Act 2009, इसलिए उसको उसका बेनिफिट देने की जरूरत नहीं थी। तो इन शॉर्ट नाउ ओनली 2% कैन टेक एडवांटेज, वन इज रेसिडेंट इंडिविजुअल and second is resident partnership firm excluding LLP. Let us move further for one more amendment. 234F, fee for default in filing return. We are aware 234F. 234F जो पुराना सेक्शन क्या है कि पेनल्टी लगेगी हमें पेनल्टी नहीं, लेट फी, आई एम सॉरी, इट्स ए लेट फी फॉर फाइलिंग रिटर्न। क्या है? 5,000 रुपए if return is furnished before 31st December of AY, and if it is furnished after 31st December, then penalty is 10,000 rupee. So we are aware that penalty is 5,000 if return is furnished before 31st December, and if return is furnished after 31st December, but up to 31st March, then penalty is 10,000. और उसमें एक रिलैक्सेशन था, अगर आपकी टोटल इनकम 5 लाख से कम है तो आपको सिर्फ 1,000 रुपए लेट फी लगेगी। तो वी आर अवेयर ऑफ लेट फी। इन शॉर्ट लेट फी क्या थी? दिसंबर के पहले 5,000 और दिसंबर के बाद 10,000। अब हमारे ध्यान में है कि इसी बजट में अमेंडमेंट आया था। क्या अमेंडमेंट आया था? कि अब आप बिलेटेड रिटर्न या रिवाइज रिटर्न फाइल कर पाएंगे, लेकिन कब तक? आप बिलेटेड रिटर्न और रिवाइज रिटर्न फाइल कर पाएंगे अप टू विच डेट? अप टू 31st December ऑफ द AY ओनली। उन्होंने ऑलरेडी 3 महीने कम कर दिए। पहले क्या था? बिफोर द एंड ऑफ AY। अब एंड ऑफ AY में से 3 महीने और कम कर दिए। तो इस बजट में अब बिलेटेड रिटर्न और रिवाइज रिटर्न फाइल करने की ड्यू डेट क्या होगी? 31st December ऑफ AY। यानी दिसंबर के बाद तो हम फाइल ही नहीं कर पाएंगे। अब जब दिसंबर के बाद हम फाइल ही नहीं कर पाएंगे तो फिर दिसंबर के बाद की पेनल्टी का कोई मीनिंग ही नहीं रहता है। तो दैट आई स्पोक टू भोपाल ब्रांच। जब मैंने बजट का लेक्चर लिया था तब मैंने बताया कि 234F अमेंड करना रह गया है। तो अब उन्होंने अमेंड कर दिया, और अमेंड क्या कर दिया? उसको हटा दिया। यानी अब पेनल्टी सिर्फ क्या रह गई? 5,000 और 1,000। तो नई सेक्शन क्या कहती है? पेनल्टी इज 5,000। अगर आप लेट फाइल करते हैं 5,000 रुपए पेनल्टी लग जाएगी, लेकिन अगर आपकी टोटल इनकम 5 लाख से कम है तो 1,000 रुपए। तो आपको अभी सिर्फ 2 ही लेट फी याद रखनी है, नॉट पेनल्टी, आई एम सॉरी। लेट फीस आइदर 5,000 और 1,000। अगर टोटल इनकम 5 लाख से कम है तो 1,000 रुपए, और टोटल इनकम 5 लाख से ज्यादा है तो 5,000 रुपए। फिर जो अभी हमने देखा एक्सटेंशन दिया उन्होंने उनकी साइट नहीं चल रही थी, लेकिन बिलेटेड रिटर्न को लेकर उन्होंने एक्सटेंशन नहीं दिया, रिवाइज रिटर्न को लेकर उन्होंने एक्सटेंशन नहीं दिया। क्यों? क्योंकि ये जो अमेंडमेंट था वो रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव था। ऐसे तो उसकी ड्यू डेट कब की चली गई थी, तो इसलिए उन्होंने एक्सटेंशन नहीं दिया। भले ही उनकी एरर थी, साइट नहीं चल रही थी। अब पान लिंकिंग जो था, आधार का लिंकिंग करना था पान के साथ, उसकी उन्होंने ड्यू डेट बढ़ा दी है। लेकिन मान लो उस ड्यू डेट तक की अगर आप लिंकिंग नहीं कर पा रहे हैं तो उन्होंने एक नई पेनल्टी लगाई है 234H, और वो पेनल्टी है दैट इज 1,000 रुपी। देन ही शैल बी लायबल टू, और पेनल्टी लिखा है, उन्होंने लिखा है ही शैल बी लायबल टू पे फीस, और लिखा है विदाउट प्रेजुडाइज टू अदर प्रोविजन ऑफ द एक्ट। यानी आधार लिंकिंग के जो प्रोविजन है वो अगर वायलेट करते हैं उसकी पेनल्टी वो तो लगेगी, इसके अलावा लेट फी लगेगी 1,000 रुपए। दैट इज व्हाट 234H। फिर ये सबके काम का नहीं है, बट आई विल गाइड यू समथिंग अबाउट द अमेंडमेंट इन मैट 115JB 2D। If your client is subject to transfer pricing and your client has obtained advance pricing agreement, or client case resulted into secondary adjustment, उसकी वजह से client की current year की income बढ़ रही है। If that would be the scenario, then in that case 115JB 2D says that our client can recompute a book profit of the past years. Why? Because current year income is increasing because of the APA or secondary adjustment. Then he can recompute book profit of earlier year under 115JB 2D by making an application to AO, and this application will be treated as mistake apparent from record under section 154 that was already proposed. अब उनके ध्यान में आया कि मान लो किसी ने मैट क्रेडिट ऑलरेडी यूटिलाइज कर ली है, तो ऑलरेडी ये टेकन बेनिफिट ऑफ मैट क्रेडिट, तो अगर उसने मैट क्रेडिट का बेनिफिट ले लिया है पिछले सालों में, तो उस सालों के लिए रिकम्प्यूटेशन इज नॉट अवेलेबल। यानी उन्होंने कंडीशन क्या लिख दी, यू कैन रिकम्प्यूट बुक प्रॉफिट ऑफ अर्लियर ईयर्स ओनली इफ मैट क्रेडिट हैज नॉट बीन यूटिलाइज। तो दैट इज द कंडीशन नंबर 1। एंड कंडीशन नंबर 2, सेकंड प्रोविजन उन्होंने लगाया है कि ये रिकम्प्यूटेशन आपको करना है ओनली फॉर द पास्ट ईयर्स अप टू AY 2021, यानी अप टू AY 2021, उसके पहले के ही AY के रिकम्प्यूटेशन करने हैं, यानी 21-22 ऑनवर्ड्स रिकम्प्यूटेशन इज नॉट अलाउड। So this is for a limited purpose. I think it was very much needed and they corrected. Now this 10 number is very, very important. સુનિલ ભાઈ મારી પાસે કેટલો ટાઈમ છે, કારણ કે હવે બાકીના અમેન્ડમેન્ટ એટલા બધા અગત્યના નથી. સુનિલ ભાઈ કેટલો સમય છે મારી પાસે?
We have not much time, 5 to 10 minutes max.
5 to 10 minutes. Okay. Thank you. As such, we have covered almost all important amendments for our purpose. So I will be able to wind up within 5 minutes, and we'll have 2-3 minutes question answer session. ULIP, this is very fun created. ULIP, Unit Link Insurance Plan. We are already aware that Finance Bill has proposed that if you are contributing a policy, which is Unit Link Insurance Premium policy, and your contribution exceeds 2,50,000 in a year, then whenever money will come back from this policy, that will be taxable. Number 1, that will be taxable. अगर मान लो आपकी एक से ज्यादा पॉलिसी मिला के उसका प्रीमियम 2.5 लाख हो रहा है, then also it will be taxable. But up to 2.5 lakh there is an exemption. यानी अगर 2.5 लाख तक है, वहां तक exemption, उसके ऊपर जो आ रहा है, that will be taxable. अब वो कहाँ taxable होगा? Then they have clarified that will be taxable under section 45(1)(b and that will be taxable under head capital gain. उन्होंने एक नया सेक्शन लिखा है, और कैपिटल गेन कैसे कैलकुलेट किया जाएगा, तो दैट दे हैव क्लैरिफाइड इट शैल बी कंप्यूटेड इन अ प्रिस्क्राइब मैनर. इन शॉर्ट, अगर आपके क्लाइंट की यूनिट लिंक इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी या पॉलिसीज है और उसका प्रीमियम 2.5 लाख से ऊपर जा रहा है, तो दैट पॉलिसी वुड बी टैक्सेबल. जो पैसे आएंगे उसका कैपिटल गेन कैलकुलेट होगा 45(1)(b में. और साथ साथ उन्होंने अमेंडमेंट क्या कर दिया इस फाइनेंस एक्ट में कि दैट वुड बी टैक्सेबल अंडर सेक्शन 112A, यानी उसको 10% का बेनिफिट मिलेगा. जैसे हम कैपिटल गेन निकालते हैं शेयर्स को लेकर, जहां हम एसटीटी चुकाते हैं, वहां उन्होंने सेक्शन 112A में अमेंडमेंट कर दिया है, और वहां लिख दिया है कि नाउ इट बी प्रपोज्ड टू बी टैक्स एट, नॉट प्रपोज्ड टू बी, नाउ इट इज एन एक्ट, तो इट हैज बीन गोइंग टू बी टैक्स एट व्हाट रेट? 10%. तो दैट दे हैव क्लैरिफाइड कि अब हम उसके ऊपर हम 10% टैक्स लेंगे, द वे दे टैक्स इक्विटी ओरिएंटेड म्यूचुअल फंड, सिमिलरली दे विल टैक्स यूलिप. तो थैंक गॉड दैट दे हैव क्लैरिफाइड विद अ कंडीशन कि वहां क्या रहता है कि 65%, 90% इन्वेस्टमेंट शुड बी इन इक्विटी. मान लो फंड इज इन्वेस्टिंग अनदर फंड, देन देयर इज अ रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ 90%, एंड फंड इज इन्वेस्टिंग डायरेक्टली इन इक्विटी, देन देयर इज अ रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ 65%. यानी जिसको म्यूचुअल फंड को हम पैसे देते हैं, they should invest in 65% of equity shares of domestic company. वो रिक्वायरमेंट जो है वो सबके लिए एवरेज है, यहाँ एवरेज नहीं है, यहाँ उन्होंने अमेंडमेंट कर दिया, उनके लिए एवरेज नहीं है. They have to satisfy throughout the term of insurance policy. That means there is no condition of average that should be maintained throughout the term of policy. Then and then section 112A advantage would be available. फिर एक लास्ट पॉइंट है, और फिर बाकी जो भी अमेंडमेंट है दे आर नॉट रिलेवेंट फॉर अवर प्रैक्टिस. जो भी मैंने लिखे हैं आप देखेंगे तो मैंने सिर्फ नंबर डाले हैं. 12 नंबर कोई एक्सप्लेनेशन नहीं है इसके अंदर, 13 नंबर, 14 नंबर, एक 147 में अमेंडमेंट, बट 147 आई हैव डिस्कस एट लेंथ, तो आई विल समराइज. अब लायबल टू टैक्स वर्ड हैज बीन डिफाइंड. तो दिस इज व्हाट दे हैव डिफाइंड इन द फाइनेंस बिल. पे अटेंशन, मैं पढ़ रहा हूं. फाइनेंस बिल में उन्होंने क्या बताया था? लायबल टू टैक्स एज ए रिलेवेंस अंडर डबल टैक्सेशन अवॉइडेंस एग्रीमेंट, सेक्शन 90. तो वहां क्या लिखा है? इट मीन्स देयर इज अ लायबिलिटी ऑफ टैक्स ऑन सच पर्सन अंडर एनी लॉफुल टाइम इन फोर्स इन एनी कंट्री एंड इंक्लूड अ केस वेयर सब्सिक्वेंट टू इंपोजिशन ऑफ टैक्स लायबिलिटी एग्जेम्पशन हैज बीन प्रोवाइडेड. तो एक बहुत बड़ा डिस्प्यूट चल रहा था कि मैं कोई ऐसी कंट्री में हूं, जैसे इंडिया की एग्जांपल लेते हैं कि मेरी इंडिया में चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट है. अब चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट इज एसेसिबल एंटिटी इन इंडिया. अगर वो 85% खर्च कर देता है, देन सेक्शन 11, 12, 13 में उसको एग्जेम्पशन मिल जाएगा, एंड टैक्सेबल इनकम इज नील. So now question is whether charitable entity is called liable to tax in India or not. That was the subject matter of interpretation. तो उन्होंने बोल दिया कि liable to tax किसको बोलेंगे? It includes a person who is subject to tax and subsequent to imposition there is an exemption provided. यानी जिसको exemption मिलने के बाद liability zero हुई है, he is also called liable to tax. वो उन्होंने clarify कर दिया. लेकिन अगर आप ध्यान से देखेंगे तो word क्या लिखा है उन्होंने? Tax liability of tax under any law for a time being force. फिर उनके ध्यान में आया तो उन्होंने बजट अप्रूव करते वक्त फाइनेंस एक्ट में क्या लिखा? There is income tax liability, not tax. Tax word नहीं है. Tax word नहीं. कौन सा word है? Income tax लिखा उन्होंने. Income tax liability. And तो idea is not word tax. Only income tax को लेकर ये definition है. इसलिए उन्होंने income tax को specify किया है. और that is the important amendment. अब last amendment है 147 में. I think 70-80 participant attended when I took the lecture at our branch on 147 long back. उसमें एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण मैंने आपको बताया था 147 में कि जब भी 147 करना होगा तो उनको 148 की नोटिस देनी होगी और 148 की नोटिस देने से पहले उनको 148 ए की नोटिस देनी होगी कि भैया हम आपका रीओपनिंग करना चाहते हैं और ये रीजन है, आपको कोई आपका कोई एक्सप्लेनेशन है तो अगर आप बताइए, अगर आपका एक्सप्लेनेशन सेटिस्फैक्टरी है तो हम आपको 148 इश्यू ही नहीं करेंगे. ऐसा उन्होंने नया मैकेनिज्म 148 ए में ला रहा था. उसमें उन्होंने लिखा था अगर आपका सर्च या सर्वे का केस है तो उसमें आपको ये अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं मिलेगी. अगर सर्च और सर्वे का केस है तो 3 साल के केस तो डीम्ड हो जाएंगे, आपको 148 की नोटिस दी जाएगी, आपको कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं दी जाएगी. आई रिपीट, अगर सर्च और सर्वे है तो सीधी आपको 148 आएगी, आपको कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी एक्सप्लेनेशन देने को नहीं दी जाएगी. अब उसमें उन्होंने थोड़ा बदलाव लाया है क्योंकि सर्वे 3 प्रकार के होते हैं. पहला सर्वे होता है सर्वे एट बिजनेस प्लेस जहां स्टॉक कैश चेक होता है. दूसरा सर्वे होता है टीडीएस को लेकर और तीसरा सर्वे होता है एट द प्लेस ऑफ फंक्शन और मैरिज और इवेंट. तो सवाल ये उठता है कि मान लो वो मैरिज इवेंट पे आए और उनको कुछ खास कुछ मिला नहीं, या मान लो टीडीएस के लिए आए, टीडीएस सर्वे इज रिलेवेंट फॉर ओनली फॉर टीडीएस, इट हैज नथिंग टू डू विद इनकम, तो देयर इज नो पॉइंट इन गिविंग लास्ट 3 इयर्स नोटिस अंडर 148. इसलिए उन्होंने क्लैरिफाई कर दिया कि अगर टीडीएस सर्वे है या मैरिज फंक्शन सेरेमनी इवेंट का सर्वे है, उस सिचुएशन में हमारा एओ आपको एक अपॉर्चुनिटी देगा 148 ए में कि आपके केस में इनकम एस्केप हो रहा है, इसलिए क्यों आपके केस में 148 इशू नहीं किया जाए. तो ही विल गिव अ शो कॉज फॉर दैट ओनली फॉर 2 सर्वे केसेस. वन इज टीडीएस सर्वे एंड अनदर इज द सर्वे अराइजिंग सर्वे ऑन एट द प्लेस ऑफ फंक्शन सेरेमनी और इवेंट. So I think these are the major amendment. Let me just scroll down. 147 के बाद मेरे हिसाब से मैंने सिर्फ हेडिंग ही रखे हैं. आप देख सकते हैं 19, 20 ये सारे मैंने हेडिंग ही रखे हैं क्योंकि ये सारे अमेंडमेंट हमारे प्रैक्टिस के एरिया के काम के मेजोरिटी नहीं है. तो आई थिंक आई एम डन विद द सेशन फॉर विच आई हैव बीन इनवाइटेड. आई एम थैंकफुल टू द ऑलमाइटी फॉर गिविंग मी दिस वंडरफुल बॉडी, माइंड एंड सोल and the capacity to learn, digest, interpret and explain to the audience. I am thankful to the chairman of the Ahmedabad branch of ICI and the committee for providing me this opportunity to share my views on the recent Finance Act 2021. And I am thankful to the audience that patiently listened me, though it was a very bombarding session and you maintained your strength 120. I am again thankful to all of you. Now, shall we have any question answer session? I request the moderator to take the charge of the session. Any moderator is there?
Yes.
Please.
Anybody having any question, please write your question to the chat box.
Okay. I think some questions are there, Arshish bhai, I think in chat box. Let me check it out. There is one question: can we deduct loan of capital asset being transferred to a partner of a firm? Question is, can we deduct loan of capital asset? From where you want to deduct? I think Mr. Manan Doshi, are you there? You have said deduct loan of capital asset from where? Under 45.4? 45.4 we cannot. 45.4 there is a fixed formula. A is equal to B plus C minus D. That's all. And under D you have to reduce only capital balance, no loan balance. I think that question would be accordingly. There would not be loan balance. It would be only capital account balance, and that too ignoring revaluation. There is a question coming from Nirav. What if capital of a partner is negative? Oh, I failed to mention. Okay, partner of capital is negative. They have clarified what they have clarified. Let me first of all explain. अगर मान लो आपका कैपिटल गेन B प्लस C माइनस D अगर नेगेटिव बन रहा है, B प्लस C माइनस D नेगेटिव बन रहा है, तो आपका लॉस हो गया. लॉस हो गया तो फर्म को तो फायदा है, लॉस तो आगे मिल सकता है. तो दे हैव सेड अगर लॉस हो रहा है तो इट इज डीम्ड टू बी नील, यानी फर्म को लॉस नहीं मिलेगा. 45(4) में फर्म को लॉस कभी भी नहीं होगा. Number one. Number two, now the question coming from Nirav bhai is very interesting. He says कि मान लो पार्टनर के कैपिटल नेगेटिव है, तो नेगेटिव है तो उन्होंने तो लिखा ही नहीं है कि नेगेटिव को इग्नोर करो. उन्होंने सिर्फ रीवैल्यूएशन को, गुडविल को, सेल्फ जनरेटेड एसेट को इग्नोर करने को बोला है. तो नेगेटिव को इग्नोर करने को नहीं बोला है, इसलिए नेगेटिव नेगेटिव बिकम पॉजिटिव. दैट विल ऐड अवर कैपिटल गेन मोर, यानी वो ऐड हो जाएगा और फर्म का कैपिटल गेन बढ़ जाएगा. I think any other question coming, kindly request. Okay, next question is coming from Nirmal. Whether payment made through JV to the supplier will amount payment in cash? Answer is yes. It is not in cash. You see, loss is you have to establish आप जो cash में payment कर रहे हैं वो 5%. JV is not a cash. JV is not a cash. You are right. The question is perfect. JV would not be considered as cash. It is other than cash. तो वो 5% के अंदर computation में नहीं आएगा. I think any other question? Versus I think shall we end because
Okay,
next speaker should not be deprived of time because of
yes, Mehul bhai,
so again, I am
thank you.
thankful to all of you.
Thank you. What is not enough for the explanation and the micro mining of the amendments given by you. And always we remember our classroom teaching. Each and every corner you have covered.
Yes. Yeah.
So everyone is really thankful to you, and we are also thankful to all the audience for their patient hearing and having a full strength till the time. Thank you, Mehul sir. And now it's time to introduce our next speaker. Next speaker is Mr. Vinit Nagar, and he is going to discuss recent amendments in the company law. So for us, chartered accountant, now company law is far important for all of us. So day to day, there are so many amendments. So Mr. Vinit Nagar is going to give a focus on the recent amendments in the company law. Mr. Vinit Nagar is a practicing company secretary and is having overall post-qualification experience of 11 years in this field, and is a founder of Messrs. Vinit Nagar and Company Secretary. His core area of practice includes appearance before NCLT, NCLAT, Appellate Tribunal, ROC, Regional Director, Consumer Forum, Ministry of Finance, SEBI and Security Appellate Tribunal. He majorly deals into the matter of corporate law advisory and mediation, and handles the matters related to the shareholder, management dispute, removal of auditors, compromise and arrangement between company and its creditors, merger and amalgamation, handling inquiries, inspection, investigation matters under the Companies Act, restoration of stock of a company represented on behalf of the debenture trustee, deposit trustee before tribunal and appellate tribunal, and dealing with the matters pertaining to the insolvency resolution process and liquidation of corporate debtors. He is proficient in mediation, drafting, and pleading in the matters pertaining to the litigation and non-litigation matters. Since last 1 decade, he is dedicatedly associated with the Institute of Company Secretary of India in spreading awareness of the role of the company secretary in the corporate world. He is also a guest speaker at various student and member orientation programs at Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Surat, Rajkot, Bhopal, Nasik of WLC of ICSI and ICAI Ahmedabad. He is also guest speaker at Gujarat National Law University and AMA and Corpus Professional at Kolkata. He is also a visiting faculty at Chikesa classes and Institute of Company Secretary of India for Corporate Law and Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. So he's one of the youngest firm to appear before the NCLT and Appellate Tribunal. So I would like to hand over the mic to Mr. Vinit Nagar. He's a colleague to me. We have taken a lectures together at various institutes. So welcome Vinit Nagar, and take over the stage. Mr. Vinit Nagar. due to some technical, he left. He's joining in 1 minute. Welcome, Vinit sir. Now, mic is yours. You can start the session.
I hope I'm visible and my screen is also it's clear to all the participants.
Yes, sir. You're audible and the screen is visible to everyone.
It's a very good evening, and first of all, I must say a very much a topic wherein the chartered accountants, they must be, after that announcement with regards to notification dated 24th of March 2021, with regards to that software which enable the trial as well as which enable to have a provision with regards to the audit trial, and which reflect that what are the changes which has taken place in the accounts maintained by the company in the software. Now, the chartered accountants, in majority of the cases, rather than, or I can say the accountant of the company, they were bit concerned about the implementation of this particular notification. The reason is, till date, though the companies are not maintaining the manual accounts, but still the software which companies are presently maintaining, such softwares are, you can say, a user friendly, or wherein we have crossed the 31st of March. Now, in a very shorter time, we have to report that which amounts classified as a deposit and what amount are not classified as a deposit. Now, as far as the present softwares are concerned, we make the changes according to the convenience of the act, as far as the convenience of the business. The amount which I have accepted from a partnership firm, which otherwise classifies a deposit, in this, as far as the present scenario is concerned, I may consider this as an advance if it is not there in the books of account as far as the last financial year is concerned. But now, as far as the audit software is concerned, or that the maintenance of that software is concerned, which will keep on the track with regards to audit trial, there is much relaxation as far as the last day notification is concerned. So I don't want to much discuss about the same. Yesterday, there was a notification from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs with regards to notification dated 24th of March, and the date of its applicability, the date of its effectiveness has been changed from 1st April 2021 to 1st April 2022. So this is one of the notification which has, you can say, which has cut down the time as far as the today's session is concerned. And we have three main areas to discuss. One is with regards to the changes which has recently taken place through the same notification by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, that is the Companies Accounts Amendment Rules 2021. Another changes are there in the reporting, which is generally under section 143 subsection 3 by the statutory auditor of the company. And third, there are certain changes with regards to schedule 3, which will impact section 129. So these are the three areas of discussion as far as this 1 hour is concerned. And apart from that, on 18th of March, one more certain sections of Companies Amendment Act 2020 has been notified, which has impacted Schedule 5 of the Companies Act 2013 pertaining to remuneration. So I would like to cover this 4 aspect, the changes which has taken place in the accounts rule, audit rules, Schedule 3, as far as the managerial remuneration, Schedule 5. Would like to begin with section 128.1. Rule 3, sub rule 1, that the books of accounts and the other relevant books and paper maintain in electronic mode. So I must say, as far as this reading is concerned, it is nowhere restricting a company to maintain its accounts in electronic means. But if the companies are maintaining its accounts in an electronic means, then that concern with regards to software will remain. As far as the 1st April 2022 is concerned, that will start from that day. On the contrary, now I don't know exactly about it, but if one can able to identify that who is managing the software or from which office this accounts are being managed, then in that circumstances, there is all a good reason that auditor may probably fall under section 144. And that is a non-auditing services which is not permissible. So as far as if there is an independentness with regards to maintenance of accounts at the end of the company and auditing from the end of the statutory auditor, it's not a concern. But I don't know how much this software can able to track. They are of course going to track the data from its scratch, because there you need to check that what are the changes which has made by the operator of that software with regards to any entry. Because if you are going to alter any entry, both the things will be reflected, the things which has been altered and the things which was before prior to that alteration. But again, I must say that this has been, or the implication of the same or the applicability of the same has been postponed to 1st April 2022. It is provided herewith that for the financial year commencing on or after 1st day of April 2022, every company which uses accounting software for maintaining its books of account shall use only such accounting software which has a feature of recording audit trail of each and every transaction, creating an edit log for the changes made in the books, along with the date when such changes were made, ensuring that the audit trail cannot be disabled. So this big concern has been relaxed as far as the yesterday's notification is concerned. So I don't want to indulge much into it, but another area which has been made effective from 1st April 2021 itself, from yesterday itself, and that is with regards to some disclosure in the board of directors report. As far as board report is concerned, its a disclosure is again there in the accounts rule, the company's accounts rule. Now here 134 subsection 3 subclause Q read with rule 8 sub rule 5, which clearly states that now in the board report you need to disclose if any application is pending before the NCLT against your company under section 9 or 7 or 10. So if any operational creditor has made an application against your company before NCLT, whatever may be the stage of application, if it is admitted or even if it is not admitted, you need to disclose the same in the board report. So if operational creditor has made an application against you before the NCLT for initiating CIRP, you need to disclose the same in the board report. If some bank or other financial institution or any financial creditor has gone against you under section 7 before the NCLT, you need to disclose the said fact in the board report. Or else if the company has voluntarily opted under section 10 of the IBC, the suspension is probably not going to extend. It was suspended since 24th of March 2020 due to lockdown, due to COVID situation. There was no new application which are being entertained by the NCLT, but now the suspension is not going to extend. So any application against your company which is pending before the NCLT or where the applications are admitted. So when the CIRP has been initiated, that is a corporate insolvency resolution process, you need to disclose the said fact in the board report. So here it is. The following clauses are inserted in the board report, namely the details of application made or any proceeding pending against the insolvency and bankruptcy code during the year, along with the status as at the end of the financial year. So this is not only about the application made, but any proceedings pending against the IBC. It happens. Some other company is there in the IBC. Some other company is going through the CIRP. But that company has entered into certain frivolous transaction with your company, certain you may call it undervalued or overvalued transaction with your company, and because of which some inquiry against your company is also going on. So in that circumstances, you need to disclose the said fact in the board report. So this is the amendment. I must say the aforesaid amendment may be said to be an additional reporting requirement to keep the members, the real owners of the company, as well as other stakeholder of the company updated about the current status of the company. The insolvency is a serious matter and shall not come as a shock to the stakeholder of the company when the same is announced publicly at the later point of time. And that's why generally जब कोई application की जाती है company के against में, and if that application gets admitted by the NCLT, then there is a direction of the NCLT that the insolvency resolution professional is always under obligation to report to the registrar, and registrar immediately change the status of the company from active to under CIRP. Though no more public are much concerned about or aware about the MCA portal, but through board report, you need to disclose the status as on the financial year end date. One more thing is there, valuation. Now this valuation is an aspect wherein company always willing to have a favorable valuation in accordance with its situation. If I have to approach some investor, or if I have to approach some bank or financial institution, meaning thereby, if there is a need to raise some funding, my valuation will altogether be different. But when it's a time to have an OTS, when I'm before the bank, I have been classified as an NPA. If bank is insisting me to get my books valued, to get my shares valued, to get my assets valued, so in that circumstances, I go before the valuer to gain the sympathy. So this is what you need to disclose, the difference in the valuation which the company has taken from the registered valuer at the time when it has availed the finance, and later on at the time when company was proposed to enter into some one-time settlement. So details of the difference between the amount of valuation done at the time of OTS and the valuation done while taking the loan from bank or financial institution and reason thereof. So these two additional disclosures have been added from this financial year itself, 2021-2022. So this is what I have stated, that another very interesting insertion in the board report is the detail including the reason of difference between the valuation of the company done at the time of OTS and that at the time of taking loan from the bank. This is with a motive to ensure why there is a difference in the valuation of the assets of the company at the time of OTS versus at the time of raising fund. Reason of this change is the change is to ensure that the company has not inflated the value of their books at the time of seeking loan from bank or financial institution. So these are the 2 points which has been made effective from 1st April itself, 2021. So these are the points which need to be incorporated in the board report for this upcoming financial year, or I can say for this financial year. One, with regards to pendency of proceedings before the NCLT with regards to insolvency. Might be your own company must have faced some insolvency application, or else some other company is during the process of insolvency, wherein your company is somewhere indulged with any transactions of that company, and because of which some application has been filed against your company. So you need to disclose the status as on the financial year closer date. And one more thing, this is with regards to difference in the valuation. Next, with regards to the audit and auditors rule. Now section which is impacting is 143 subsection 3. It's all about the disclosure in the board. It's all about the disclosures by the auditors in the auditors report. So section which is impacting is 143 subsection 3, and the rule, I must say, it's rule number 11 of the company's audit and auditors rule. Other matter to be included in the auditors report. Now, yes, rule 11 sub rule D is omitted, and that is with regards to SBN, and that was during demonetization phase. Now it is no more required, so it is omitted with effect from 1st April itself. But there are certain things which has been added, wherein I must say this disclosure has to be done in the notes to accounts. Company's director has to give a management representation on the basis of which auditor has to report the same. This is very important. And the purpose behind this introduction is to identify how the fund of the companies are being routed through some channel for the benefit of certain unidentified beneficiary. Many a times a company itself acts as an intermediary, and many a times company route such kind of money through some intermediary. So this is very important disclaimer, or I must say this is one of the most important disclosure I can say. For that you have to take the representation from the management. Additionally, it is also going to form part of the notes to accounts. And yes, a further reporting in this regard is required to be made by the statutory auditor. So this is inserted by the company's audit and auditors amendment rules 2021. It has been made effective from the financial year 2021-22 itself. And this is with regards to whether the management has represented that. So this is what the auditor has to take care of to the best of its knowledge and belief, other than as a disclosed in the notes to accounts. So it is going to be the part of the notes to account, but again, whether the management has represented to the best of its knowledge and belief or not. And this is with regards to no fund has been advanced. There are three things. No fund has been advanced, loaned or invested, either from the borrowed fund or a share premium or other security. Now, one more thing, if you have accepted loan from bank or public financial institution, and if the amount has not been utilized, now this is pertaining to Schedule 3. If the amount is not utilized for the purpose for which it was availed, then separate disclosure in this regard is also required to be made in the financial statement through the notes to accounts. Now, this is one of the change. It is going to be impacted Schedule 3, but as far as this disclosure is concerned, now this is important, wherein the management has represented that. So you have to separately ask for the representation, like what you ask for in the case of section 164. With regards to disqualification, the auditor used to comment on the basis of the representation which he has received from the directors. Similarly, when the auditor used to comment over anything based on the representation which he has received from the management, this is very important backup document. I've seen many of the companies which they used to accept loan from directors. They used to accept the loan from the director's relative. In a private limited company, this is not categorized as a deposit, but to the contrary, there is a mandatory requirement pursuant to Rule 11 or Rule 10 of the company's acceptance of deposit rule. It's Rule 10, which states that you have to take a declaration, or better I can say you have to take an affidavit that director has not borrowed that amount from any other source. We generally don't take, but we used to put this remark that this is the money which has been introduced by the director himself, and this is not classified as a deposit. But we don't generally keep the backup papers ready with us. But in the circumstances, there will be a mandatory requirement to take such kind of representation. No doubt, it is having a relevance with 185 and 186. 185, 186 reporting is required to be made separately. This is separate reporting which states that the management has represented that to the best of its knowledge and belief, other than as a disclosure in the notes to account, that no fund have been advanced or loaned or invested, either from borrowed fund or share premium or the other source, by the company to or in any other person or entity, including foreign entity, which are the intermediaries, with the understanding, whether recorded in writing or otherwise, that the intermediary shall, whether directly or indirectly, lend or invest in other person or entity identified in any manner whatsoever by or on behalf of the company to benefit an ultimate beneficiary, or not only to grant loan or to give advance or to make an investment, but also to give a guarantee or security on their behalf. See, it is always permissible. It is always permissible transaction under 186. Restrictions are there under 185. But if these transactions are being channelized, this is not permissible. And if you are doing so, you have to give a declaration, so that there has to be the proof through which it can be known that who is the ultimate beneficiary. There is section 90 of the Companies Act. There was one rule, SB or significant beneficial owner rules. So now the ultimate purpose behind such kind of reporting is to identify that who are the real beneficiary behind such you can say a facial transaction, a transaction which has been undertaken by the company, not directly but through some conduct, through some channel, through some intermediary to benefit some person. So company first of all is not permitted to do so. If company is doing so, company has to give this disclosure. One more thing is there, whether the management has represented that to the best of its knowledge and belief, other than as a disclosure in the notes to account that no fund has been received. Thodi der pehle jo baat hui, that is with regards to no fund has been advanced or loaned or invested. Now here, this is altogether a different thing wherein you need to give this representation also. That means the management has to give this representation that no amount has been received. I said no amount has been received by the company from any person or entity or including any foreign entities. With this understanding, whether recorded in writing or otherwise, that the company shall whether directly or indirectly lend or invest in other person or entity identified in any manner whatsoever or on behalf of the funding party. So again, if you are the intermediary, you are getting some money and you are routing that money to some other entity, you are investing that money to some other entity, you are advancing that money to some other entity, and you are an intermediary, or else you are the primary institute or you are the primary company who is granting loan, who is advancing this money or who is making this investment, this disclosure is mandatory to be taken from the management. Now the purpose behind this additional reporting is, I must say, it's a camouflage investment, which means the transaction which are undertaken by the company for some identified beneficiary. However, the transaction does not take place between a company and ultimately beneficiary, but it is masked by the inclusion of an intermediary. This transaction masks the identity of the real beneficiary, and in the world where the financial transactions are regularly being carried illicit transaction, money laundering transaction or other suspicious activity, then in this case, it is important to trial the financial transaction to be maintain transparency. Hence, if the identification of the end beneficiary is consciously being, you can say, if it has been hidden, then there is a big concern. So this is one of the important thing wherein the auditor has to report the same. An auditor will report on the basis of the representation which he has received from the management. Furthermore, there is additional reporting with regards to the compliance of section 123, which talks about the interim or final dividend. What has to be taken care of is payment of dividend in case of profit, payment of dividend in case of inadequacy of profit, opening up of the account when dividend has been declared, and there are certain situations where company, even though willing but not in a position to declare a dividend, and the circumstances are, if company has accepted deposit in contravention of the deposit rule, or some deposit which has already been matured, but company has defaulted in payment of that mature deposit. In that circumstances, the company shall not be permitted to accept, or you can say to permit its equity shareholder to participate in the distributable profit. So this is one of the important concerns which auditor has to take care of, especially when the company has declared any interim or final dividend. And prior to the disclosure, it is very important to check any past dividend if unpaid or unclaimed, or its transfer if not made to the IEPF in spite of the expiry of 7 years. So this reporting need to be accompanied with that particular statement also. So this is important, that whether the dividend declared or paid during the year by the company is in compliance with section 123 of the Companies Act or not. So this is one more reporting. And final thing, wherein the notification was there from the ministry on yesterday itself, and that is with regards to same thing, audit trial. So it is provided where the company in respect of the financial year commencing on or after 1st April 22. So this was the amount, this was the announcement yesterday the ministry has come up with, has used such accounting software. So from the next year, next financial year itself, 2020 to 23, auditor has to report the same, that the accounting software which company has maintained, or the books of account which is maintained by the company through accounting software, to have a feature of recording the audit trail. Bracket mein likha hua hai edit log. That means whenever the things will get edited, it will create some history, some backup that it was the original transaction, and thereafter the transactions were named like this. So from the next year itself, that is financial year 2020 to 23, this reporting is going to be the mandatory part. This is one of the mandatory reporting from the next financial year, but this is not going to be a big challenge to identify that from where to have such kind of software, how difficulty or what difficulty it is going to have on the company's operation. Its applicability has been postponed for one more year long. Now, as far as Schedule 5 is concerned, in Schedule 5, there is inclusion of the independent director, and its resulting impact is on many sections. Now there is an independent director which is defined under section 149 subsection 6. It is clearly specified that now is eligible to have a remuneration also. Earlier, he was entitled to receive sitting fees. Earlier, he was entitled to receive the profit related commission previously approved by the shareholder. Earlier, he was entitled to receive the reimbursement for attending the board meeting, but now he is also entitled to take the remuneration from the company. So just by taking the remuneration of the company, his independentness will not be impacted. His independentness will not be questioned. So recent amendment which has been taken place with effect from 18th March 2021 only, which has included the independent director in Schedule 5. Specifically when company is having no profit or the profit are not sufficient, then in such circumstances, company used to remunerate its managerial personnel on the basis of Schedule 5. Up till 17th, or I can say up till 17th of March 2021, the word which was used was the managerial personnel, but thereafter there has been some addition which has been made, and now there is one word which is added to it. It's not only the managerial person, but the word or any other director has also been inserted. So this is section 2 of Schedule 5. Remuneration payable by company having no profit or inadequate profit. Because when the company is having a profit, to make the managerial remuneration, there it is very open-endedly stated that remuneration payable by company to its managing director, whole-time director, manager or any other director. So वहां पे तो already other director के अंदर independent director was already the part and parcel. But as far as section 197 subsection 3 is concerned, which talks about in case of no profit or in case of inadequacy of profit, then in that case, we generally used to refer Schedule 5 section 2, which only talks about the managerial person. And because of that, there is always a point of discussion that whether independent director shall be included or not. So with this amendment, this is clear that
એને કીધું 2 વર્ષ વરંટી છે 2019 છે ને 2 વર્ષ આપી દેવું નથી મેં 2 જગ્યાએ તપાસ કરી આ મેન્યુફેક્ચરિંગ 12મા મહિનાની છે 2019 એટલે 20 થી ચાલુ થાય 2 વર્ષની વરંટી આપણે પેકિંગ ફરી ગયું બરાબર બરાબર છે
होप ये कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं था
कुछ ऐसा ही पता है
Okay. I think mic of some participant is open and that's why. Anyways, it was section 2 of Schedule 5. And as far as section 2 of Schedule 5 is concerned, the change which has taken place is remuneration payable by the company having no profit or inadequate profit. So my profit is not sufficient that even I pay 5% or 10% or 3% or 1%. Sir, humble
આના પૈસા મારી પાસે લઈ લ્યો
ના એ તો ના એ તમને મને WhatsApp માં નો કીધું કે લેતા આવજો અને એના પૈસા તમે મને 50 દે આના મને 50 રૂપિયા આપ્યા તમે આ લેવા ગયા ને
ને આ તમે શું લેવા
તમે લખી દીધી મેડિકલ
લાવો
Well, again, I should continue. This is what I must say. As far as section 2 is concerned of schedule 5, the change which has taken place is with regards to the word or other director. Yes. So as far as the change is concerned, the change is with regards to the fact that earlier the managerial personnel word was there. Now the word or other director has been included, meaning thereby, in case if the company's profit is not sufficient or the profit is not there and company is willing to make the payment with regards to the remuneration, then company is entitled to remunerate its managerial personnel as well as other director. Now this other director shall also includes a non-executive director and an independent director. So earlier, I must say the word was there, a managerial personnel, through which it was already presumed and assumed that he shall not be entitled to receive the remuneration other than sitting fees or other than reimbursement or other than that profit related commission. But now he shall be entitled to avail the benefit of remuneration also. Now this is provided in Schedule 5, Section 2. As far as Schedule 5, Section 2, now Section 2 of Part 2, this is very important when a company is a limited company having some independent director. Now, big concern is whether they are entitled to receive remuneration or not. Now, yes, they are entitled to receive the remuneration, and accordingly, many sections have been impacted. One is section 149, subsection 9, which earlier used to talk about that he is entitled to receive the remuneration by the way of sitting fees, profit related commission, or reimbursement for attending the board meeting and committee meeting. Now that has been altered. Even that has been altered, and the alteration has been taken place under section 149, subsection 9, which states that 149 subsection 9, which states that provided that if a company has no profit or its profit are inadequate, an independent director may receive remuneration exclusive of any fees payable under subsection 5 of 197 in accordance with provision of Schedule 5. So Schedule 5 permits an independent director to extract remuneration. And merely by accepting the remuneration, he shall not be considered disqualified. And its clarification is already there under 149 subsection 6. Now, as far as the remuneration is concerned, now the slab is before screen. The earlier slab was restricted to this column number 1 and column number 2. Now, column number 3 has been added with effect from 18th of March 2019, which states that now this is all about not overall, but this is all about a per person remuneration. So when there is a negative effective capital is again there on the screen, which includes the capital of the company, that is the paid up equity share capital of the company, also includes the share premium, reserve surplus, long-term loan and deposit, which is repayable after a year, and you need to minus the aggregate of investment of the company. One more thing, accumulated losses and preliminary expenditure which has not been written off. So the criteria is based on the effective capital. My effective capital is negative or maybe positive but less than 5 CR. If I have to make a payment with regards to remuneration in case of no profit or inadequate profit to my managerial personnel, which includes my MD or which includes my WTD or which includes my manager or CFO, if he is a director, or my any other whole-time director, I will opt for the slab number 2. I must opt for this column number 2, which states that in case of negative effective capital or any positive effective capital less than 5 CR, I may go with 60 lakh as a managerial remuneration. If the effective capital is more than 5 CR but less than 100 CR, I can still give 84 lakh. If it is 100 crores or more but less than 250, then I can give 120 lakh. And if there is an effective capital of 250 CR and more, then I can pay the managerial remuneration to a managerial person, that is 120 lakh plus 0.01% of the effective capital in excess of 250 crore. But now this talks about limit of yearly remuneration payable shall not exceed in case of other director. And for other director, I mean to say it is the independent directors and non-executive director. So you can still pay 12 lakh even though your negative capital or even though your effective capital is negative or positive but less than 5 CR. If it is 5 CR or more, less than 100 CR, you can still give 70 lakh. If it is 100 CR or more, less than 250 CR, you can still pay 24 lakh. And if it is 250 CR or above, you can pay 24 lakh plus 0.01% of the effective capital in excess of 250 crore. So what I intending to say is Schedule 5, there are certain changes, and these changes are specifically with regards to now you can make a payment with regards to the managerial remuneration, not only to your KMP or those who are on the executive position on the board, but you can also make a payment to your non-executive director, which you was already and previously also it was permitted and allowed, but there was always a misconception in the mind of the professional. There was always a misconception with regards to the fact that if the independent director is going to receive the remuneration, the criteria of his independentness is going to be impacted. So there is, you can say, vis-a-vis changes which has taken place. Changes is also there in 149 subsection 6, which define independent director, and respective changes is there in Schedule 5 also. So now here it comes Schedule 3. This is the final area of discussion, because as far as the account rules are concerned, there are only 2 additional reporting which has been added to it in the board report. One is with regards to any action taken against your company before the NCLT under IBC, and status as on the closure of financial year date, you need to disclose the same in the board report. And second, the reason of deviation between or reason of deviation of the valuation which was taken by the company, the valuation which was derived by the company, or the valuation which company has availed at the time of taking some loan assistance or financial assistance from bank or financial institution, and the valuation of the company which company has taken, valuation which was, you can say, the opted at the time of OTS, the reason has to be disclosed in the board report. Apart from that, this reporting, this is with regards to the channel through which company used to make an investment, the channel through which company used to grant loan, the channel through which company used to advance. You have to take the representation from the management. You need to report accordingly, and this shall also form a part of the notes to accounts. So this was with regards to audit rule. This is with regards to the rules which was taken, or the changes which was taken place with regards to managerial remuneration. Now here it comes. This is with regards to Schedule 3. Again, the said changes has been taken place with effective from 1st April 2021. Now, this is in connection with section 129 as far as the first change is concerned. Now, this is in connection with depending upon the total income of the company, which was earlier depending upon the total income of the company, which was earlier, the criteria was the turnover. So depending upon the total income of the company, the figures appearing in the financial statement shall be rounded off. Earlier it was may, it has been replaced with word shall now, and earlier it was the turnover, which has now been replaced with the income. Internet. So this is one of the change which has been taken place through Schedule 3. So you can round off the figures appearing in the financial statement, and now this is on the basis of your income and not the turnover. So this is what I've disclosed. Depending upon the total income of the company, the figures appearing in the financial statement not may, but it shall be rounded off as given below. So if the total income is less than 100 crore, then round off to nearest 100 or thousands or lakh or million. And if the income is 100 crore or more, then nearest to lakh, million or crore. So this is one of the change wherein the shall has replaced may, and the income has replaced the turnover. Yes, now the heading what we used to give. The heading what we used to give in the financial statement, heading asset, subheading non-current asset. Here the heading is going to be the property, plant and equipment, so PPE, and intangible asset. So there is a subheading or the name which has been altered from the asset subheading non-current investment, and we used to give the name property, plant and equipments. Now it is going to be the property, plants and equipments and intangible asset. So wherever the word tangible asset is there, you need to disclose the property, plant and equipment, and intangible asset will be separately disclosed. This is what has been stated here. So after the word property, plant and equipment, the word and intangible asset shall be inserted. And for the word tangible asset, the word property, plant and equipment shall be substituted. So this is a change, a small change with regards to that format. Shareholding of the promoter. Now this is additional reporting. If a promoter are the same, those who are holding 5% and more of the equity share capital or the preference share capital of the company, then disclosure is already required to be made. But additional disclosure, even though my promoter is not holding the share equivalent to 5% or more, then also it is mandatory to disclose the holding of promoter in the financial statement. So note on the share capital in the financial statement shall mention the detail of the shareholding of the promoter, along with the changes, if any, during the financial year. Now, this reporting we used to do while filing annual return with the registrar. Pursuant to section 92, we used to report to the registrar through form MGT7, the annual return. In the same annual return, we used to specify the promoter shareholding and the shareholding of the promoter at the beginning of the financial year or at the end of the financial year, and the changes which has been taken place during the financial year. Now, this is required to be stated as a note on the share capital in the financial statement. So promoter here means the same which is defined under the Companies Act, section 2, subsection 69. Details shall be given separately for each class of share, and percentage change shall be computed with respect to the number of share which he was holding in the beginning of the year or during the year if the certain shares have been issued to him, and considering his shareholding at the close of the financial year. So on the basis of which it has to be considered the changes which has been taken place if compared with the beginning of the financial year, end of the financial year. So shareholding of the promoter is separately required to be stated in the note of the share capital of the company. One more thing, and this is with regards to now under the heading of short-term borrowing. I said now under the heading of the short-term borrowing, there is a requirement to disclose the current maturity of the long-term borrowing. I said under the heading of the short-term borrowing, the entry with regards to the current maturity of the long-term borrowing is required to be disclosed separately. One more thing, earlier we used to report the same in other current liability. We used to disclose the same other current liability, but now it is going to be the part of the short-term borrowing wherein you need to specify the current maturity of the long-term borrowing, and it has to be disclosed separately. One more thing, trade payable due for the payment. There are certain trade payable. These are the payable, maybe a payable to any MSME. This may be to a non-MSME. This may be to an MSME with whom a dispute is there, and this may be to a non-MSME, but it may be disputed. So any amount payable to MSME or others, MSME but disputed one or disputed to other, you need to disclose the same, and for which a tabular format is provided in Schedule 3. So now company henceforth will be required to provide aging schedule for the trade payable due for the period, and the periodicity is 1 year, 1 to 2 year, 2 to 3 year, and more than 3 year. This includes the trade payable to MSME, disputed dues to MSME, other dues and disputed dues. This information for unbilled dues, if there is no billing which took place, so information for the unbilled dues is required to be disclosed separately. And similar information shall be given when no due date of the payments are specified. Then in that case, the disclosure shall be with regards to the date of transaction. So unbilled dues shall also be required to be separately disclosed, and those bill and those transaction where there are no payment obligation. Generally, there is a payment obligation when you are dealing with the MSME, even though there is a no contract between you and that MSME. But by the virtue of the MSME Act, you are under obligation to make payment within the stipulated time. But if you are dealing with a non-MSME unit, in that circumstances, if there is no time frame which is stipulated with regards to that payment, then in that case, the disclosure shall form the part of the notes, and it shall be calculated from the date of transaction. So it is provided that aging of this trade payable, this is one of the area, and the classification, or you may call it the schedule of this payment, is classified on the basis of any amount which is due for a periodicity of 1 year. So up to 1 year, 1 to 2 year, 2 to 3 year, and more than 3 year has to be separately disclosed and already discussed. Now under the short-term borrowing, you need to disclose the current maturity of the long-term borrowing, which was earlier under the heading of other current liability. One more thing, we used to disclose the security deposit in the long-term loans and advances. Now this security deposit shall form a part of the non-current assets. We used to disclose the security, और ये problems काफी आती हैं when we used to report the ROD pursuant to Rule 16 of the company's acceptance of deposit rule. Now, when there is a security deposit, then security deposit is nowhere required to be stated in the loans and advances, and now it is required to be stated in the other current assets. So it is provided under the heading of long-term loans and advances. We used to specify a security deposit. Now it shall be omitted, and now it is going to be under the heading of other current assets. One more thing is there, like trade payable, we have to disclose the aging of trade receivable also, because on the basis of which you need to disclose in the notes some ratios also required to be disclosed, like debt equity ratio, you need to disclose the same, receivable, payable, this ratios are also required to be disclosed pursuant to the changes which has been taken place in Schedule 3. So now the company will be required to disclose the aging schedule of its trade receivable, including undisputed or a disputed trade receivable, considered good or doubtful, having an aging classified as less than 6 months, 6 to 1 year, 1 to 2 year, 2 to 3 year, 3 year or more, along with the disclosure separately for the information of unbilled or which are dues, but there is no bill which has been raised. So you need to disclose the same. This undisputed and disputed trade receivable, which are further categorized into good and doubtful, trade receivable aging schedule is also provided now in Schedule 3. So you can easily witness a tabular format wherein now you need to disclose undisputed trade receivable which are considered good, undisputed trade receivable which are doubtful, disputed trade receivable which are considered good, disputed trade receivable which are considered doubtful, and you need to give its aging up to 6 months, 6 to year, year to 2 year, 2 to 3 year, 3 year and more. And the similar information shall be given when no due date of payment is specified. So if I say there is a no due date which has been communicated by me, or considering the terms of business, there is no due date of, you can say, making payment to me, then in that case, this reporting has to be made on the basis of the date of transaction. And if there is no bill has been raised, then unbilled dues shall be disclosed separately. So this is a similar change, but I must say a respective change in comparison with the trade payable and a trade receivable. One more thing, and that is with regards to where a company has not used the borrowed fund. So this is what I have repeated in the beginning of this discussion. If the company has availed a loan from bank or financial institution, so good, there is no other party which is specified in this Schedule 3. So where the company has not used the borrowings from bank and financial institution for the specific purpose for which it was taken at the time of the balance sheet date, then company should disclose the details of where they have used the same. So now this reporting, I don't know how much proper it is going to be. If you are availing loan from bank, you are not utilizing the money for the purpose it was accepted, then you need to disclose the same in the financial statement. Now, it is going to be a big challenge on the one who is going to prepare that financial statement, because now the responsibility of the bank or the financial institution, generally there is always a provision in that the records, there's always a provision on the agreements, hypothecation deed or mortgage deed, whereas they're always permitted to have a nominee director on the board, but now the responsibility of the existing board of director has been increased by this reporting. So now notes to the financial shall also disclose if the company has not utilized the borrowed amount accepted by it from bank or financial institution for the purpose for which it was accepted, then you need to disclose it separately along with the notes to financials. Now, certain additional regulatory information has been added, like title deeds of the immovable property not held in the name of the company. If company is owning some property, even though in its own name or in joint name with somebody else, but when company is not having its title deeds, then you need to specify the description with regards to such property. So company shall provide the detail of all the immovable property. I said company shall be under obligation to make a disclosure with regards to all such immovable property, but other than that immovable property which I am holding, which is leasehold and not a freehold. So if the property which a company is holding in the capacity of leasee and there is a lease agreement which are duly executed in favor of the leasee, that immovable property shall not be considered. Other than that, the company shall provide detail of all the immovable property whose title deeds are not held in my name. And where such immovable property is jointly held by a company with somebody else, then details are required to be given with regards to the extent of the company's ownership in that property. So this is one of the changes brought in by Schedule 3, and I must say additional regulatory information it is. I have to disclose the details with regards to those immovable property whose title deeds are not held in the name of the company. Again, a very important part which is going to be followed with this, and that is with regards to any property which this company is owning against which a Benami, the proceedings under the Benami Act has been initiated. You need to disclose that part also, and that is going to be there in the columns to come. So as far as the another disclosure is concerned, where a company has revalued its property, plant and machinery, then company shall disclose as to whether the revaluation is based on the valuation by the registered valuer or not. So you have to disclose if there is some revaluation which has taken place, then you need to mention it separately that this revaluation or the valuation has been conducted by, this valuation has been committed by, the valuation is done by the registered valuer, registered, which is defined under Rule 2 of the company, registered valuer and the valuation rules 2017. Now everywhere it has been mandatory for a company to get the valuation duly registered, to get the valuation done from the registered valuer, specifically in case of merger and amalgamation also. There is a clear-cut instruction as far as the rules are concerned that you are mandatorily required to get the valuation conducted from a registered valuer. So in case if the company during the financial year has revalued its property, or company has got the revaluation of its plant or any equipments, and company has to disclose the said fact that revaluation is based on the valuation done by a registered valuer. One more thing, though 185 does not permit a company to enter into such transaction, I said though 185 does not permit a company to make any loan to its director or relative, or a firm where a director is also a partner or as a relative is a partner. So 185 does not permit company to enter into such kind of transaction of loan or guarantee or security. But 185, there is a window is also there. Now, there are some exemptions which has been given to certain class of company from section 185. But now again, those companies shall be under obligation to disclose this fact by the way of notes to account. So following disclosure shall be made where loans or advances are in the nature of loans which are granted to promoter or director or KMP and the related party as defined under the Companies Act 2013, either severally or jointly with other person. And you need to disclose, are this loan repayable on demand or without specifying any term of period of repayment. So if first of all you cannot enter into a you can say you cannot enter into such kind of transaction if you are not exempted from section 185. And even if you are exempted from 185 and entering into this transaction, you need to disclose, you need to give a disclosure with regards to loans or advances in the nature of loan which are granted to promoter, directors, KMP or any other related parties. So now the horizon has been increased. When you see 185 is only confined to directors and relative. Whereas now this disclosure, even though permitting you, but this is not confined to director or relative, but it has also taken under his radar promoter, KMP, directors, and all the related parties which are defined under section 2 subsection 76 of the Companies Act 2013. And additionally, you need to disclose the terms of that loan. So whether this loan which has been granted by a company to promoter or KMP or director, whether it is repayable on demand without specifying, or else without specifying any terms or period of repayment. So that is what you need to disclose. One more area wherein an aging schedule is provided, and that is with regards to capital work in progress. This is based on if there is any capital work in progress is there, you need to disclose the same, whether it is in progress or temporary suspended. If it is in progress, you need to disclose by up to what extent it is going to be concluded. So up to 1 year or 1 to 2 years or 2 to 3 years and more than 3 years. And similarly, there are certain intangible assets which are under development. For that also, aging schedule is provided with the same criteria, less than a year, year to 2 years, 2 to 3 years, and more than 3 years. So for both capital work in progress and intangible assets which are under development, aging schedule is provided by Schedule 3. Additional disclosure in the notes to balance sheet, and first is with regards to details of Benami property held. Now this act, I don't know, this act is going to kill or trap how many blue chip clients, how many blue chip companies, how many blue chip personalities. And this is with regards to Benami Transaction Prohibition Act 1988, where any proceedings have been initiated against a company, or wherever any proceedings are pending against a company for holding any Benami property under Benami Transaction Prohibition Act or rules made thereunder, then company has to disclose the fact, details of the property including the year of its acquisition. Company अपने नाम पे क्यों लिया होगा, but yes, amount thereof, details of beneficiary. Of course, a company must be the beneficiary or any of its directors must be the beneficiary, but you have to disclose that. If the property is in the books, then reference to the item in the balance sheet. If the property is not in the books, then the fact shall be stated with the reasons. Whether there are proceedings against the company under this law as an abettor. Abettor, that means one who assists somebody to enter into this transaction. So where company is not indulged directly, but company is again a facilitator. So if the proceedings are pending against the company pursuant to this law as an abettor of this transaction or as a transferor, then details shall be provided, and nature of proceedings, status of the same, and company's view on the same has to be disclosed along with the notes to the balance sheet. So this is one of the reporting which has been added. So here, being an auditor, it's not only you need to take the representation from the management, but you need to keep on communicating the things with the concerned in-house counsel of the companies, the counsel who are representing the company before several forums, tribunals, courts. You need to be conversant with them also, that what kind of proceedings are pending against the company, specifically if anything pertains to Benami Transaction Prohibition Act. Details of borrowing. This is, I have trapped. There was one matter wherein I was representing the company in the case of removal of auditor. Though the management were responsible for this sham, but I've seen wherein the quarterly financial statement submitted to 2 banks were of 2 different debts with 2 different figures. There was no correlation with the figures. Same quarter, dates are different, figures are different, and he was trapped by the regional director at the time of removal. So this is very important, that when company is acquired, company has availed some financial assistance from bank or financial institution, there is always an obligation from the part of the company to submit quarterly or half yearly details with regards to that the property on which the company has created the charge. So where the company has borrowed money from bank or financial institution on the basis of security of the current assets, on the basis of the security of the current assets. So मैं stock बता रहा हूं इतना है, I have to reconcile from my books whether उतना है या नहीं. So whether quarterly returns or the statement of the current assets filed by the company with the bank or financial institution are in agreement with the books of accounts or not. If not, summary of the reconciliation and the reason of material discrepancies, if any, to the adequately disclosed. So that is one of the things which has to be reported. This is one of the things which has to be reported. So in case if the company has availed any credit assistance from the bank or financial institution on the basis of the security which company has created over the current assets, then it is mandatory for the company to disclose the fact, the quarterly return or the statement of the current assets submitted by the company with bank or financial institution, whether it was in line with the books of the company. If it is not in line with the books of the company, then summary of the reconciliation. So what is a discrepancy and what are the reasons of such deviation that has to be disclosed? Willful defaulter. So now this is again very important to check whether the company or its director's name are there in the list of willful defaulter or not. Whether a company is declared willful defaulter by any bank or financial institution or other lender, and following detail is required to be given: the date of declaration as a willful defaulter and details of default, nature of defect. So willful defaulter, which is again specified by the schedule 3 itself, means a person or the issuer who or which is categorized as a willful defaulter by a bank or financial institution or consortium thereof, in accordance with the guidelines on willful defaulter issued by the Reserve Bank of India, which keeps on changing from time to time. But this is mandatory requirement as far as now the financial disclosure is concerned. You need to disclose the fact whether the name of the company is in the list of willful defaulter or not. And gradually the name of director shall also be included in the said list. Relationship with the struck-off company. Now this is many blunders which will be before us in a very short period of time, because I have seen many of the companies, they apply under section 248 subsection 2 by making an application to ROC as if they are not working, Now we don't know. I'm one of the independent company. I've lended certain, you can say, money, or else I made some transaction, I supplied certain goods, I supplied certain material, or else I have availed certain services, or else that company has supplied goods to me. I don't know. That company has made an application to ROC and ROC has accepted that application, and that application has been processed by ROC. That company is struck off. Now, any kind of relationship which my company do have with that struck off company, you need to disclose the fact, and ROC will accordingly initiate an action against that company which has been or which has applied to the ROC for its closure. I've seen many of such struck off company. There is a mandatory requirement that you need to nil your asset, you need to nil your liability, and then only system permits you to make an application, or I must say your application is processed only on the basis of this fact that there is no asset or there is no liability. What we used to say, एक तरफ कैपिटल और उसके सामने P&L में डेबिट बैलेंस बता देते हैं, and we use close the company. But now certification is risky. To give such kind of certification in that statement of accounts, you can say accounts, that is STK8, which is a format, statement of accounts and solvency. We used to give a clarification, we used to give an attestation, we used to certify this fact that company don't have any asset and company don't have any liability. But now this is not that, you can say, now there is no more luxuries to certify this kind of statement of account. The reason is very clear. If my company, which is active, which is compliant company, which is a going concern, such company has to give a declaration that whether my company has any transaction with the company struck off under section 248 of current act, Purane Kaide ka section 560, and I need to disclose this fact कि उस कंपनी के साथ मेरा संबंध क्या है. अगर कोई संबंध नहीं है बट सिर्फ फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शंस हुए हैं, तो आई नीड टू डिस्क्लोज क्या इन्वेस्टमेंट है मेरा उस कंपनी में, और अगर मेरा उस कंपनी में इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो ऐसे केस में मेरी कंपनी एक शेयर होल्डर है, और बीइंग अ शेयर होल्डर मैंने उस कंपनी की जनरल मीटिंग में पार्टिसिपेट किया था और मैंने कंसेंट दिया था उस कंपनी के क्लोजर का, तो मेरे लिए दिक्कत वाली बात नहीं है. बट इफ देयर इज रिसीवेबल इज देयर फ्रॉम दैट कंपनी, or payable is there to company, or some shares are held by that struck off company, वो company मेरी company के share hold कर रही है, or any outstanding balance you need to disclose in your financial statement. अब वो company तो बंद हो गई है, but you need to disclose this fact. अगेन मैं कहना चाहूंगा, अगर वो कंपनी ने वॉलंटरी एप्लीकेशन किया है, सो प्रोबेबली उस केस में डायरेक्टर्स की एफिडेविट, इट इज गोइंग टू बी अ रॉन्ग ओथ ऑन बाय द वे ऑफ एफिडेविट, उनकी इंडेमनिटी पे प्रॉब्लम होगी। और ऐसी कंपनी जिसकी एप्लीकेशन को ध्यान में रखते हुए ROC has processed that application and the status of the company has been struck off, dissolved, ROC may initiate such action. But when ROC has suo moto closed that company, then probably there are some scope which are going to be open. You in the capacity of creditor, you in the capacity of stakeholder. If there is a wholesomeness of amount which is receivable from that company, but that company's name has been struck off by the ROC, then better you can take the remedy under section 252 subsection 3 or 252 subsection 1 by making an application to NCLT for the restoration of that company's name. But I don't want to go into that litigation side. I would like to restrict this up to the disclosure, up to the reporting only. And yes, this reporting is mandatory. Any relationship of the company with a struck off company. Your relationship with the struck off the company, if there is no relationship, but there is some investment in the securities of that struck off company, or there are some receivable, or there is some payable, or there are certain shares held by that struck off company, my company shares held by that struck off company, or some outstanding balance because of any transaction with the struck off company, you need to disclose the same. Additionally, you have to check any secured loan which is not registered on the records of ROC. One change which has taken place under section 77 of the Companies Act 2013, which is purely unconstitutional in nature, but I don't know why no action has been initiated by any person to challenge that amendment, because now if the charge is not registered within 120 days, there is no possibility to get that charge registered with the ROC. And if the charge will not get registered with the registrar of companies, there will be an issue with regards to the interest of that bank or financial institution in whose favor the charge is registered, because unless the charge will get registered, he will not be considered as much secured creditor. Or else there are certain circumstances when the loan has been repaid. Loan has been repaid. The property has become charge free, but company has not reported to the registrar of companies. There is a section 82 of the Companies Act 2013, which states that you need to report to the registrar of companies pursuant to section 82 by filing form CHG 4 for the registration of satisfaction of charge. The time frame may be extended up to 300 days. And if you are filing that form even after 300 days, the system will permit you, but for that you need to get that delay condoned from the regional director. But for the registration of charge in case of creation and for the registration of charge in case of modification, section 77 purely unconstitutional. It has limited the time frame, and if within that time frame, if the charge is not registered, you cannot get the said charge registered up till this date. आज तक की तारीख में कोई solution नहीं है. So this additional reporting is required to be made where any charge or satisfaction is yet to be registered with the ROC beyond the statutory period. Then in that case, details and reason thereof shall be disclosed. अब ये सब details कंपनी से मांगेंगे तो कंपनी को कुछ पता चलेगा नहीं. Company will again play the blame game on the professional, and when they will approach professional will be having a no clue with regards to the fact बताया नहीं. So as far as this reporting is concerned, I don't know how practical this reporting will be possible, or how genuine this reporting is going to be made in the forthcoming year. Compliance with regards to number of layer 186 subsection 1 does not permit to have a step down investment, a layer of your subsidiary. So if there is the case wherein certain step down investment has been made by you in contravention of section 186 subsection 1, then the same is required to be disclosed. Ratios are required to be disclosed with regards to current ratio, debt equity ratio, debt service coverage ratio, return on equity ratio, inventory turnover ratio, trade receivable ratio, trade payable ratio, net capital turnover ratio, net profit ratio, ratio on the capital employed, and ROI. So this further reporting is mandatory now. Compliance with regards to approved scheme of amalgamation or merger, or rather I can say merger or amalgamation or any kind of compromise and arrangement with your creditor. other than merger and amalgamation and its impact on the financials. When we opt for the merger, when we opt for the amalgamation, when we opt for a compromise with the creditor, when we opt for a compromise with a member, we used to submit a scheme of compromise and arrangement to the NCLT. And it's the NCLT who sanctioned such kind of scheme. Now, if the scheme has been sanctioned by the NCLT, whether its impact has been there in the company's financials or not, now that disclosure is also required to be made. So where any scheme of arrangement has been approved by the competent authority, which is NCLT, in terms of section 230 to section 237 of the Companies Act, the company shall disclose that the effect of such scheme of arrangement has been accounted for in the books of the company in accordance with the scheme and in accordance with the accounting standard, and deviation in this regards shall be explained in full in the financial statement. And rest is the same what we have studied it in utilization of the borrowed fund and the share premium. The same thing. If I'm not directly entering into any transaction of investment or loan or advance, but I'm routing that loan or advance or investment through some intermediary, it has to be disclosed by the way of this notes. It has to be disclosed by the way of that management representation. It has to be accompanied by your reporting. Now here it comes. You need to report the same. It is very important, and that's why I don't want to, you can say, leave it apart. You need to specify the lending or investment, whether outbound or inbound loans, advances and investment, which are intended to be routed through an intermediary, masking the identity of the ultimate beneficiary. You have to take this representation. This is what we have studied, 143 subsection 3, and additionally in schedule 3 also it is forming a part of it. So where a company has advanced or loaned or invested fund to any person, or investment has been made to any entity, including a foreign entity, with the understanding, whether recorded in writing or otherwise, that the intermediary shall directly or indirectly lend or invest in other person or entity identified in any manner whatsoever by or on behalf of company, that is the ultimate beneficiary, or else no advance, no loan or no investment, but you are somewhere acting as a guarantor, or you are acting somewhere as a provider or security provider, then also you need to disclose that who are the ultimate beneficiary. See, there is no prohibition with regards to entering into this transaction, but prohibition is all with regards to non-disclosure of this fact. So this fact has to be disclosed, whether you are routing this fund, whether it is an outbound or inbound loan, advance or investment, its disclosure is mandatory. Furthermore, if some foreign entity is involved, or if some foreign currency is involved, or FEMA is involved, this declaration is required to be taken from the management, a declaration that the relevant provisions of the FEMA and the Companies Act has been complied with for such transaction, and the transactions are not violative of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. You need to take this reporting, and on the basis of this reporting, you have to report the same. Now, if the company has received such fund from any person or entity, including a foreign entity, with an understanding. Now, whether this understanding is express or implied, whether recorded in writing or otherwise, if the company is directly or indirectly lending it or investing it in other person or entity, identified in any manner whatsoever by or on behalf of funding party, you have to disclose the same. Providing any guarantee or security or like on behalf of ultimate beneficiary, the company shall disclose the following: date and amount of the fund received from the funding party and complete details of each funding party. Date and amount of the fund further advanced, loaned and investment, and or you can say the ultimate beneficiary along with the complete details of the other intermediary. मेरे अलावा भी कोई intermediary है जिसके through ये channelize हो रहा है, I have to disclose this fact. Date and amount of guarantee or security or like provided to or on behalf of the ultimate beneficiary. And here also, if you have received certain fund, then also you need to give a declaration that You have complied with the requirement of FEMA in this connection. You have complied with the requirement of this Companies Act, and this money has not been accepted in a manner which is not permitted under the PMLA Act. So these are certain disclosure which has been added on by Schedule 3. So these are certain changes which has taken place just 8 or 7 days back on 24th of March 2021 notification. Trial 1 year has been again extended, and its applicability has been postponed to 1st April 2000 and you can say 22 and not with effect from 1st April 21. I would like to end up the session at this moment as far as my discussion is concerned.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Queries will surely be there when we are going to practically execute it, when we are going to practically face the difficulty. Since it has been made effective just from yesterday itself, nobody has practically faced the problem which is going to be in the time to come. I don't think so that there must be some question, or if the questions are there, the questions must be too much, considering the fact that this is a discussion which is at a very pre-mature stage. Notifications are still there, their pages are still not yet rough, and the people are still going through, reading through this particular changes.
Any question to anyone? Yes, Vinit sir, is there anything pending from our side?
And nothing.
I think there is no question. I'm very, very much thankful to you for your very insightness to the topic and giving a very micro mind to the topic. And really, really wonderful session and very well explained. So thank you very much on behalf of the Ahmedabad branch of WIRC, and really thankful to all the participants for patience listening and still be there till the time. Is there any question, please? There is one, such rules are applicable to small companies also. One question is there, sir. Such rules are applicable to small companies also?
Which rules they are talking about? As far as the reporting in the board of directors report is concerned, that is not applicable to an OPC. Other than that, the reporting shall be applicable. What we have seen in the schedule 3, it is applicable to an OPC. So only the small company and 1% companies are exempt from reporting under section 134 subsection 4, what we have seen with regards to the any pendency of application before the NCLT with regards to CIRP, or with regards to difference in terms of the valuation taken at the time of acceptance of loan and during the OTS with any bank. That is not applicable to an OPC.
Surely we will share the PPT within 1 or 2 days to all the participants. Thank you, sir. Thank for such a wonderful, and still you are always having a session with full energy. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thanks to participants. Thank you.
Fair.